Okay, welcome. Sorry for the delay. As I was about to go streaming, got several messages that I needed to sort out. So, here's what we're going to do today. I'm going to try. I don't know if this will work, but I'm going to try and not do this having not known the result. So, we're going to be looking at the MSI game between AL and CFO, and the problem is that because I'm doing it on the roster files, I obviously know the total number of games, so the result will be spoiled as we go. And I'm going to look at the drafts, and I'm going to do it like properly. So I'm using Mark Stream because it's the best one. No offense. And we're going to find this last pick and then go through it. It goes out to in, right? I also saw, I have to say, I think I know the result already. I really did try to have it not spoiled for me, but I think I know the result because I saw an interview, and most people aren't happy doing interviews after they lose. So if we could find a way to do it easily, then I would, but I don't think it's very possible. So what have we got? Right, Rumble, Varus. I think Nico is actually really strong. I think we've been putting not enough prior on Nico recently. I think it's really good. I also think it's great that Treats is insanely good at it. Pantheon and Vi both gone. Power junglers. Vi, I think, has been maybe less good, but still good. Then Xin first pick into Azir Poppy. Poppy really, really strong. Chinese teams absolutely love Poppy. She's good in all the little skirmishes. She's good at fighting early. And if you hit that one ult, doesn't matter what the game state is. If you hit a perfect ult, Poppy can just carry a fight completely. I don't know if this actually will be barred, actually. Let me just check if it logs in. Okay, is barred. Oh, cool. With this version, I can see how... Okay, so it's going to be barred last. They swapped instantly. So I want to get the pick order. Yeah. Actually, Azir with like all mids up. So there's been loads of like TF bans and stuff like that. We looked the other day. I don't know if you saw scrims, but it's like TF was the highest prio score pick and a 0% win rate. So it's been banned in first times and then not played well. But this time, no mids banned. And even with no mids banned, Shanks goes instant for the Azir, which is interesting. I think Honkyu and Shanks have probably been the best performing mids at this tournament in general. Then the Talia as an answer and a blind pick Gragas, which is answered by the Yorick. I think this blind pick Gragas is really, really weird. Especially when you know LPL loves Yorick and Yorick is a good answer. I mean, people have... there was time in EMEA Masters where someone let Baus play Gragas so that they could first time Yorick into it. And Flandre is not first timing Yorick. That's for sure. And then, yeah, Jin MF trade at the end with Varus gone. So, like, Varus is top tier. These are obviously the top tier ones. Sion ban with the Rumble ban as well. So, double AD banned at the end. Jin picked. Bit more like front to back. Oh yeah, true. It can't flex jungle with Xin though. It can flex support, but it's only really used as support as an answer to Alistar, so it's not a real flex. You can basically guarantee when they pick Gragas like this, it's going top. Unless you pick Alistar on 4. Then it can go. Then now suddenly it can go support again. Nico is really, really different from Mumu. I think the good way to think about Nico is that she's like Lux in the lane, and then she's like 3/4 of Lux in the lane and 3/4 of a Mumu afterwards. How about that? Or probably more like half of Lux in the lane and 3/4 of Mumu afterwards. The thing that's really oppressive about Nico is that during the lane phase, like Nico is just such a strong support in the lane. She just gets push. She can harass you down. She gets prio. She forces prio in so many matchups. If you have like Nico Caitlyn, for example, you're just going to bully anyone basically. And then afterwards, she actually has more stuff. Whereas Lux is like, In the lane, she's a bully, but in this current game state, after the lane, she just doesn't provide that much, which is why people aren't playing it. Okay. Let's see, yeah. 9 games of Yorick this season, 7-2. So, I shouldn't have quit that. Oh well, we'll find it again. Okay, so that was the first draft. I'm still going to not put too much emphasis on the drafts. I think it's always a bit silly. But let's get into that first game. This way I can find out if the games are in the right order as well. Okay, yeah, it is. So I know there's only 4 games. But beyond that, I don't technically know who wins. I feel like I would have somehow heard about it somewhere if it was a massive upset, but we'll see if CFO can do it. I think they've been really good this tournament. I think they've been really, really good. And I think they've shown that like a competitive region and good decisions in terms of running projects is much more important than amount of money. Like, let me just check, but I think they're not like imports, right? Like they're all Taiwanese, I think. Okay. Kai Wing's from Hong Kong. But other than that, like none of them are like, they've not been like importing Korean players into the region and that's why the region's gradually got up or anything like that. They're just good. They have the advantage obviously of playing in a better scrim region. Alistar's going to lose Prio because he's close range and he's useless level 1. So Bard Jhin is going to get pushed in bot. Talia gets pushed into Azir early on. Side lane is a problem. And Yorick gets pushed into Gragas. So Bard roaming around and pressuring is good. I think Poppy could go for like invades and stuff like that. But Xin is a... Like if it was a more punishable jungler than Xin in the early fights. Poppy's really good in those early fights. But unless you get the right stuns and unless you're the one trapping the Xin, it can also go very badly. So I think it's fine to just clear back and forward, like both teams just clearing. Jhin Bard not going for swaps or anything like that because both side lanes are good for them. So I don't know actually if we might see at some point CFO going for the swaps. Their bot lane is now starting to get to the point where it's going to be okay though. And top lane, I don't think Gragas... I mean, Gragas is good in the swap. But Yorick, I think, is quite good in the swap as well. Into MF Alistar. So if they could find a time to swap CFO, I think it would be good. You'd have to just nuke the wave and do the Gen G one, where you don't actually push the wave, you just try and neutralize it, and the second it's neutral, then you have an opportunity to back and run top, especially with MF move speed. So after this wave, we'll see where both bot lanes go. Hope and Kyle are just going straight back to bot lane. And MF and Alistar go top. Alistar goes through mid. Ooh, I'm not sure about this teleport. I think that AL should really have like seen that one coming. And so it just depends. If they hold it like this... Let's go back to this. Like I think when you TP here... You have to be really worried about the freeze here. Rather than being punished on the dive, I'd be more worried about enemy taking dragon and then trying to freeze Gragas away. But Gragas obviously has the range. So not absolute worst. By the way, can you guys hear the fan in the background? Let me know if that's a problem. I had a thing on my mic that was hopefully cutting it out, but also cut out the beginning and end of my speech. So I can either get that right or it's just enough with the better cable, like XLR cable and stuff like that. So now it looks like instead they're going to try and push this in. Both top laners are kind of fine in this swap, like I said. Especially now he's 6. Bard resetting. I don't know if they want to... I was thinking they might full swap to top to try and get top push to then secure these grubs in a minute and a half. But it looks like instead they're just going to run through mid. Azir needs a base, so... I mean, Jin's going to take 1 mid wave. If Jhin was 6, obviously Talia would be in trouble already, but he's not even close. So he's going to take 1 mid wave because neither have... Oh, really nice stop. Really nice stop on Talia. So neither mid has TP, so they can They can get pressured, push one more wave. Now Azir goes top actually. Okay. So where is Azir's coming out base? Yorick bases. They lose a wave to this bot tower. I don't like this. I don't like the way this is moved around. I don't know if it's good, but let's go into it a little bit more. They just need to take the dragon and then switch, else they lose their advantage on both sides. Yeah, I was expecting them to full switch. I don't like the fact that they have both side priors and we lose an entire wave bot lane. Bard gets stopped on a lazy base. So Yorick's going to get most of these, if not all. But we lose this full wave here. No, I think it's just because you're just not swapping. So enemy doesn't even lose the wave in mid because Talia can pick up most of it. And yes, she'll miss some, but she gets all the XP as well. She's going to be there for the next mid wave. We just lost the wave in bot, and now Jhin is a bit like jobless. Like, does he want to go mid again? Because I think Talia can actually push into the Jhin here. Yeah. Checking Discord. Hey, Pommy, wait 1 second. I'm just reading this message and thinking. Yeah, okay, I'll respond on Discord. Okay. I'm good, thanks. I'm just looking. Okay, I've got admin stuff to sort out. Admin stuff to sort out. Sorry. Right. I'll get back to it. This is a problem. Okay. Right, so let's get back into this. So like I said, I would have preferred just a full clean swap again, maybe, after you take the dragon, but maybe you've committed too much time and... That dragon for one wave is okay. And now their bot lane does go mid. I think at this stage, it's 7 minutes into the game, like, what if Talia just goes mid? She doesn't have ult, I guess, as well. Because wouldn't Talia push into this, maybe? But maybe you just push into a 0 as well, so... So they're going to play around the grubbies. TP up for Flandre, so he can technically join. He's going to push and move already, though. Gragas is going to move afterwards. They're just full giving up the bot wave to secure these grubs. And now they can play super aggro in this area because there's massive time advantage. Gragas can't be here, and he's going to walk up and then TP back. If this W had landed, it would have maybe even forced the flash here. And then if this ult forces the flash as well, so they secure the grubs. And now he's going to teleport back bot lane. There you go. Teleports down. They lose a plate for all the grubs. And they're now going to lose their camps. So by no means free. Oh, this is an interesting TP. Oh, it's bad. That was a Zia. I still get caught out by that. Okay, sorry, more things to sort out. So then after the grubs, they chase him away on the Gromp with the TP. And there's just more people coming, and Yorick is so strong in these kind of fights because he's level 8, right? So the Q has got 4 points. It's nearly just that full healing every single time. He Qs, it's got short cooldown. Long fights is just going to be so fucking difficult to play around. And has the Maiden as well. So instantly then they start to go for the invade themselves. So it's going to be a camp for camp trade, although obviously the little ones went back the way of CFO. I think Yorick is always annoying for the Gragas on side. You have. I think it's good. I think you're thinking about it in the right way, Jack. But I think one of the things that you have to bear in mind is that actually some of the swaps around is literally just like they can't give up that wave bot. So he's not TPing to gradually to shift prio down to bot or anything like that. He just can't. We can't give up that wave, and we can't let him push for free. So a lot of times it's just like, okay, I don't care if the lane assignment is right. I just like the top priority is to not give up too many resources that you don't need to give up, and then it's to get the lane assignment right. It used to be a lot more simple because people swapped a lot less, and it was a lot more like you're saying, where we just shift prios around. But now the swaps are more dynamic, and you can try and just push and then move again. I do think they should probably try and ensure from the matchups that they get prio and bot, and that's why OnQ's gone bot. But that first thing of putting Yorick bot was just about let's try and not lose this wave. So rather than pushing and TPing to the dragon and then walking back, it's the other way. He pushes and walks to the dragon and then TPs back to make sure they're just not giving up too much. So Jhin and Bard still getting pushed in mid. Hey, Rocker. Gragas TP burn, but this is a much better matchup for both of them. Neither of them were. Both Azir and Gragas were just like getting a bit bullied in the lane, and now they're like both better off. But Gragas is still not in a good spot, I think, in the Azir matchup. I just really don't like this Gragas pick. I forgot to check. I'll check again briefly when we look at the next draft. Striver likes a mega Gragas player that I didn't know about, and he hasn't pulled out too much in the tournament. Because this blind pick Gragas against the Azir, which you would know is going to be hard inside and is going to be countered, and you're doing it against the Yorick player. So how does this happen? Okay, Poppy's just top, right? So Poppy goes top, and so enemy gets dragon. Try to make one play on top side, and we play for the fight afterwards because we're a Chinese team, and that's what Chinese teams do. They'll play for the fight anyway. So with the moving down, we've used our timer on top to secure top prio. We tried to get a kill, but it missed, or we got the flash, right? And now they come down for the fight anyway. Blind Ray's just fucking with them. Bard in a really good spot. Really nice poppy ult. And so the Xin is going to die. So they get a kill on the back end. Shanks had shifted down to mid. He pushes a wave and then he goes top and he's going to collect that wave as well. They drop another plate to Gragas. Which again, I don't think they necessarily should do. But they did. York's just going to clear up this wave. Still a very even game at this stage. I do think this Poppy pick can be really, really strong. I think as soon as Doggo has no stun, no flash, right? So he's going to be so vulnerable to these Bard ults. Gotta admit, I thought APAC will be the biggest winner from the new region format, but the amount of growth already seen is terrifying. I don't even know enough about it. How does the region work? Is it all of the like Oceania teams as well? I think the big thing for me is that like you hear Doinby talking about scrimming CFO, you know, like they scrim against the best teams. But also, I think the way that they've done things has quite clearly been more beneficial. And they were the worst region, and they've been absolutely scaling up. And considering the final went to 5 games, like, would the second place team be better than our second place team? I think that's an important question. It might be the case. Go through it a little bit faster because there's 5 games, or not 5 games, it's 4 games. Like I said at the beginning, I know how many games. I don't actually know who won, although I can guess. They come around posturing for this this Herald. LCB combined PCS, VCS, JPL, Oceania led to prime talents from the region played in China before returning. Oh, what? So GAM is actually from the same region. So they do have 2 teams. Okay, sorry, I got distracted. Right, so we're trying to play for this Herald. We've got 1 minute 50 on Dragon, so there's nothing else to fight for. Everyone's got flash except from Driver on the side of CFO. Everyone's got flash on the side of Absolute Legends. They have a 2k gold lead at this stage. So decent. I also think they're probably in a stronger spot to fight. An item on, like the item on Azir is better than the item on Talia, because obviously the Talia one is a more scaling one. Both junglers are kind of similar. Same scaling situation with your scaling Rod of Ages is not as good as Triforce. On top lane, they try and get that engage on mid lane. Flash trade in the end. Nice exhaust. Talia gets ulted. A lot of poke coming down with the Maiden. He just opened up way too close. He just jinxed Jhin outed way too close, no? Yeah, it's good. If they found a way to actually make it work as well. Also, the Oceania teams used to be quite good, and then they just gutted the region, right? Yeah, but, and also, like I said, they're scrimming in an area where they can scrim the top teams. Like, I know they played like NIP and stuff like that from LPL. So it's going to be because of that Staller, Dragon, and Herald trade. So 2 dragons, but Herald and Dragon and Grubs to the side of AL. Azir on a side lane with this item, just for the rest of the game, and Grubs is just a menace on towers. So Flandre stalls as much time as he can. Nice flash, but now he's gonna just die. He needed like that W to somehow interrupt the MFO, I guess. But while they commit resources there, they put Herald down in mid lane. One person gets Bard thinged. Bard stasis seized. Oh! Okay, she's going to die. So kill and tower to kill and 2 towers, but with the Herald. So still close game. And CFO really like battling back as well. If I don't know the result, maybe it's better to not watch it like this, because it's less interesting and it's more like just like all the other things. It's less like hype, you know? Good. Yeah, I mean it shows they've been really good. Bard gets knocked in. Oof, the Atakan, whatever that is. I was about to say W. I don't know why that looks like the Atakan W to me. The Q is the one that spins around, and the W is the one that like maybe it's like Vel'Koz or something. I'm not sure why I'm thinking that. But anyway, the stun into that from Atakan was like a combo. So they're going to push up mid. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. After this game, I'm going to go to the actual stream instead, and we'll do it like that. So because I don't know, we'll watch the stream, and then I can, like, we'll have the casting on as well. We can do it like that. Teams that care about the strength of scrims. You quite often say this stuff that like you're saying it like it's a statement, but it's just an opinion, right? You don't think that better scrims translates to more improvement, and that's okay to not think that. I think there's no evidence for that personally, but I would be careful saying it like it's a fact when it's just what just your opinion on something. Because especially something like that, like yeah, maybe everyone's wrong, but it's quite a thing to say everyone's wrong as if it's like a fact. So for me, I think in an ideal world, the strength of your scrims wouldn't matter all that much. But the thing is there's just far too many variables. So like I can understand like in theory, if we're like studying coaching or whatever, we might be able to trick ourselves that the level of competition doesn't matter. But I think it definitely does. And even if you think about something like sport where the level of drills that you're doing, people talk a lot about making sure that the level of competition internally in practice is really high and the second string guys are really pushing the first string guys and all that kind of stuff. That's the same thing except from times a million, because it's, well, not times a million, that's an exaggeration, except from times a lot, because in this case we play a full game. And so if you play against teams that you can beat doing anything, it's so difficult at every stage to only do the correct things and to only be really disciplined. But also, there are some things that you just don't find out until you scrim against the tougher opponents, because there's just too many variables. It's like, okay, because they did this and then 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 this, then we didn't realize that we actually don't have a good way to set up objectives. Or, you know, we do things and they get caught out before we even can do the full execution of the thing. So I do think, I mean, again, I think it's fine to have the opinion that higher level of scrims doesn't mean more improvement, but I don't think it's found out in the evidence, and I don't think you could talk to anyone who is like a professional coach who would think the other way. Oof. Poppy going for an ult here, like it's a nice little combo. We get one grounding on Alistar and then just like instantly try for it. It would be really short ult. So he's trying to knock Xin away, I guess. Talia gets an ult across everybody. Stunned into the wall. Gragas getting hit on the side lane, but just buying loads of time. That was a really nice Talia ult. Jhin. Oh, no one taking that for Alistar. Jhin ult. Gets them on the back end. And the second parts of these fights is always just going to be really, really good for Absolute Legends because there's so much more consistent damage from Azir. I mean, there's decent amount of consistent damage from Talia, to be fair. But also with the MF, like once the MF ult is gone, once the Alistar like combo and stuff is gone, it's quite a long time really in between. Nice combo. Don't think the ult was absolutely needed there, Shanks, but still. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, what happens on the back end of this? So they're starting and pulling the Atakan and just doing that, so they're all getting the debuff and they're all still taking damage and they're not getting higher HP. But it does force the enemy to come in. This is all fine, just kill him and don't ult, obviously. Hindsight. But then Poppy dies for it as well. Xin doesn't quite die. Bar jumps through and does die. Talia's teleported back, but the knock just misses. Oh! He just force shot Talia rather than MF. Oh my god. That's a wild fight. Teams tend to approach weaker teams as an opportunity to beat up on a baby rather than refining their approaches in less pressured environments. I don't think that they try. I don't think that anyone tries to do that. I think it happens naturally as the game progresses because again, it's not like simple. It's not a simple game. Like there's so many variables. I mean, so if you walk forward and the enemy walks back, and they shouldn't walk back, instead they should walk forward and trade back on you, then you get more space in the lane, and you get more space than you should. But you can't like not walk forward if it's also good for you to walk forward, you know? If you wanted to walk forward and trade and the enemy just walks back, then there's nothing to do. That's like you didn't do that, and if they shouldn't have walked back, you know? And if you do that 100 times before 5 minutes, suddenly you have a lot more space than you would have against a good team. So I don't think it's quite as simple as you're making it out to be. I think games can tend to lots of high kills, but if people are messing up, like if people are, and the other thing as well is that also doesn't give you a good game. It doesn't give you good learning just to not punish enemy mistakes. So let's say, for example, I mean, this is going to be mega oversimplified, so hopefully you still understand what I mean. But let's say, for example, that you push up mid. Oh my god, I made that super fat. You push up mid and you go towards this side, and you're in the jungle like here. And the enemy team should know that they have to come around this way, otherwise they'll die. And so because they come around this way, it takes more time, which means that you're going to be able to get the tower. So that's how the play should go. But now you're playing against a weaker opponent, and instead the weaker opponent just walks in this way. So you kill them. So is that like beating up on the baby? Because if you just let them walk through the quick way, then you don't kill the tower, and your correct play doesn't get you the tower. So the point is just letting people live by the mistakes that people make. And when you see, like, when we play against a lower level of opponent and people say, like, Treat says, like, okay, look, they're inting and they, like, needs to be punished, or they're making mistakes and they need to be punished. That's what he means. Like, if you don't punish that mistake, it's also not correct for you, because we would get the tower in this situation because a good team would give us the tower and a bad team gives us 3 kills and the tower, and now the game is just snowballed. So that's what I mean. I'd like to suggest one thing I noticed in LS and Nord, that LS and other teams often play duo with team on stream. Thus create synergy with the players, I think. Yeah, if you have accounts that you can duo with, I think it's really good. I know, for example, last split, like Nash and Inax did a lot of duo. I don't know if they streamed any of it, but they did a lot. Or and 2v2s and stuff like that. I think all those things are really useful. But we've got much smaller streamers in general, so if our bot lane plays together, they probably don't stream because like 20 people would watch. Whereas if it's Crowny and Reckless, it's worthwhile for them to stream. Okay, so now 3 dragons though. The side of CFO. One was for the grubs, one was for towers and Herald. But now you're still in that situation where you've given yourself this pressure every 2 minutes. So yeah, they got a 3k gold lead, but they mess up one of these fights and it can be really difficult. Okay. They group and they try and push up the mid lane. Everyone's just leaving top because it's now in that place where the wave states stay neutral. A minute still left. They ping back and forward. I don't know if someone is going to go because it isn't actually neutral. I said it was, but it's stacked up. So this is going to cost obviously some CS. Talia then comes here and bases. Yorick can just perma-do the dragon. I mean the Atcan, as we've seen. Chachi did that in a game. So it is possible to just keep it leashed. Really nice engage onto the Gragas. Huge thing. Poppy ult hits 2 as well. Huge Bard ult. And they just can kill that. I mean, they played that beginning of that fight so well. Poppy ult timed for as soon as the Bard ult runs off. And just hits a couple of people who just can't get out of it. And then Gragas is left by himself. So now it's 4v5. He doesn't have TP as well, so they can take their time with this. I want to see them set it up properly. They had to pull Atcan to get out with the E, which is bad because it now starts to shred them. Oof. MF ult comes through. I thought they were going to take it. The AL keep it leashed. No. Gragas is spawning in 5. They don't want to risk it. So now, I mean, you can see, like, AL are nervous here. This isn't a done deal by any stretch. They've got 4k gold lead, but... I mean, they have a Zia with their boots, but still... Zia with 2.5 items, or 3, I guess, with the many masks. Talia collecting bot. Yorick just push and shift the move. He's going to take the blue buff for everybody. Azir TP. Oh no, not Azir TP. Back to mid. Bard TPing to mid. So with the Unsealed Spellbook, once you start getting it, you just want to keep them cycling because now it reduces the cooldown. Up until a point, up until like 22 minutes, I think, you have to be keeping cycling it. So now he doesn't need to keep cycling it, but he just uses the TP to get it out from the cooldown. I love that summoner spell. I mean Keystone. So they put wards down and then they will base. So they're going to lose the vision, but you can't take the vision and start the objective without being seen. So now they're going to come back with resources. They're going to retake the vision. It's like going back and forward, until like one team will make a mistake, basically. House Tower goes down, but I don't think it really matters. They're going to be able to take this bot lane House Tower soon. Now that he's got some magic resist and stuff, Yorick should be fine as well in the side lane against Talia, although she does have the void stuff, I guess. Talir groups up because Azir on Baron is really, really fast. They're going to start Azcan, but they can actually threaten Baron. So this is what I said, like, Yorick can just keep this leash for ages with his Q. I think his Q heals him on the Azcan, right? Just check that. Okay, yeah, so it's reduced against non-champions, but it still heals. So they are able to just keep it leashed. I think playing weak teams is an opportunity to build your advantages on small, consistent things. If you're repeating. But if someone this is the same question though, Jack. Like, what do you do then in your situation if someone defends a tower that they shouldn't defend? Because if you let them defend it and they clear the wave, that's also not a situation that you would ever be in. And that's also not a good habit to build. If you're letting enemies just defend towers and you're being like, okay, we let them live here, like over and over again, that's also bad habit, building bad habits. So what would be your proposed suggestion in that case? Like when the enemy does something, so you rotate to a lane and they don't respect that you rotated to it. Or they don't CS as well as you and now you have way more gold. Do you not spend the extra gold? You know, like I don't know where. If you play correctly and you're a better team, you will beat worse teams consistently. So like, and also again, the main one is like, if someone's defending a tower and they shouldn't defend the tower and they're standing under it, if you don't kill them, it's not like they also just don't kill the wave. You know? So against the good team, you would just get the tower, and against the bad team, you get the kills and the tower. But should you not get the kills or the tower? So you rotate there and you just don't kill it because we're like, oh no, it's a bad team, so we're just not gonna kill them. So it's just not as simple as I think you're making it out to be. And I think it's a problem. This is one of those problems. Like we talk a bunch about like the research practice gap. Like this is that exact kind of thing. I can see that in a purely theoretical world, if we don't have experience of playing at the top level, that you might think that it's just fake to say scrimming against two weak teams doesn't give you that good practice. And if scrimming against anyone would give you good enough practice because you could just be really disciplined and do the right things. And if they're all bronze and you're all challenger, then you could just still be really disciplined and do the right things. Or at least when we're talking about like other professional players, you'd think there wasn't that big a difference, but there really is that big a difference. And the question is like, how does it work in practice? So yes, you can be more disciplined. I think it's hard to maintain that level of discipline when you see people doing stuff that is bad. And there are situations that you can put yourself in that you think, okay, because I've just got better hands, I'm going to win this situation that I wouldn't win if I didn't have better hands. But two things. Firstly, if you're playing a competitive game and you've got better hands, you should still put yourself in that situation. And secondly, like, what is the alternative? Because the alternative is not good either. It could be there's an answer for this, but I've not heard a good one. So, oh, what, a zero just whiffed completely. So we clear the mid wave. We want to play for the dragon again. We don't want to give them soul, obviously, if you're AL. Talir forces Tarzan's flash, which is really bad. And Gragas flash, but the Gragas flash for the Azir ult rather than just Talir W. Oof, the ult just hits and knocks Alistar away. Talir ult splits everyone up. Azir just doing so much damage in the side lane. But now you're in this situation we talked about before where Alistar has actually have ult down, so he's quite a different champion. They're going to jump on the Xin, use the speed. Kael with the steal, smite steal. They get the stun into the wall. They're going to clean them all up on the backside, I guess. Yeah, with the extra stun. That's going to be the game. Okay, so like I said, I'm gonna switch to the stream. We'll jump into the Ruffle file if there's anything specific. I do have all the Ruffle files ready, but we're gonna jump into the stream instead so that I can just kind of watch it and not be controlling the camera, be listening to it as we go, and that kind of thing.
Maybe it's a
So
There is that sound going to be taken.
Like all of them are.
that was the first game. It was much closer than I think AL would have wanted to before this game. I mean, before the tournament, right? So let me know if it's loud enough or too loud or whatever.
The Casio before. It's good matchup into the Rise.
There's the Ornn or Galio on 3 to play into the Rumble, unless it's going to be Flandre's Rise or something like that. They deny the Wukong as well, with Pantheon and Vigon.
Tristana as well as another possibility. It ultimately depends what sort of jungle matchup they want. We mentioned the Skarner earlier, provides a very solid front line, great utility. CFO made wonders happen against Koi, utilizing this pick just the other day.
And also played the Tristana against T1 in that game 5, which they ended up losing. So obviously,
okay.
On that sort of combination. Corki as well, very powerful AD carry right now. Not so
He's going to take the Skarner, and it can be a flex Corki with Rumble top.
A favorable matchup. This increases the value of Leona, which we did see banned from AL in the previous draft. We'll see now what the final lock in. Does AL want to match on the AD carry? Do they want to match on the top side?
Do they take an AD carry, or do they just take the support? Oof. I like the Nico. Hey, so what's the most important thing to learn, be able to do to good coach ERL1 or low ERL? That's a good question. Let me pause this so I don't get distracted. So, what is the most important thing to learn or to be able to do to be a good coach of ERL2 or like low ERL1? I'm going to assume that you don't mean ERL2 like LFL2, because I feel like it's better to just think about that as an ERL1. It's got like 10 professional teams in it. There are people in LFL2 who are paid a lot more than a lot of us in in the NLC. I don't think it's necessarily a higher standard, but it's definitely it's definitely much more lucrative. I think there's two things that I think you really need to be able to do. I actually think probably the most important thing is to have a clear system of how you think the game should be played from a team level. So that's actually probably not what I would have said a few years ago. I would have said a lot more like, oh, you need to more focused on like the understanding like coaching theory and stuff like that. And I think that's true once you have a good system for how you see the how you see the game. But I think you do need to have a way that you understand that, because it does build kind of everything on top of that. Then the next skill I think you need to have is just to be able to. Oh, this is a bit of a cheat maybe, but to be able to take your time and go like deep into stuff is really important, and so that you can take your time to go deep into things like not just the game itself, but how your team plays, and what are the things that your team is missing that you want to get it to the level that you need to be. This is a really good question. The other thing that is instantly coming to mind is stuff that is more around, like, to be able to just lead discussions well. Maybe it's that simple, honestly. I think it... Okay, new answer. My final answer on the spot. Lead discussions well. Have a good system for understanding the game. A clear system for understanding the game. What are the things that you value? How do you conceptualize those? And that's it. And so basically what you're doing in the discussion is you don't necessarily need to be providing all the fine details of like when you can clear this path or if you win this trade or all those kind of things. You can let your players do that. But what you need to be able to do is take the stuff that your players are saying and push it as deep as possible so that you can apply it to multiple different situations, so that we can say, okay, we need to get better at doing this thing, and this is how that thing appears. Yeah, facilitating the conversation. I think that's probably a real big part of your job. But it's interesting, because also the thing that I love so much about coaching is that there's nothing that you can learn or skill that's kind of completely irrelevant. That's probably an exaggeration, but it really feels like that, and that's why it's so fun, because you can dive deep into anything. Public speaking, any other sport, any type of psychology. There's probably stuff I've learned from learning about cooking that's probably useful, have probably impacted me. Definitely stuff that I've done learning about films and narrative structure that's helped my coaching. So that's the fun part of it. But if you want to focus on a couple of things, yeah, good system for the game, how to shape conversations and make sure that you're like summing them up and stuff like that. Because sometimes, for example, in Nord, there's several players who do that really well. Like Jankos already does it really well. Treats already does it really well. They've both been around for ages. But in ERL2 or lower ERL1, maybe you've got a bunch of players who can't do that at all, and you need to be the one to make sure that happens. Because who says the like summary and who decides the thing going forward? Okay, so for future, we want to make sure. So you'll hear like Jankos does that a bunch. Like we'll have a discussion, and then he'll come in and say, okay, so for next time we want to. That's the important bit. If he wasn't doing it, I would do it. I prefer it. I love it when it comes from a player, but that's the thing that needs to happen. Yeah, I'm going to do that. That was the thing that spoiled the result to me. Because like I said, I don't think Tame sits down if they lose. They sits down for an interview. But I still don't technically know the result. So yeah, I'll do that as well. I want to react to the interview. I'll kind of have it as a separate thing that I can then release as a separate thing as well.
So they could look to ban that instead. But for CFO, they should look to try and target that AD carry pool. Try and put hope on something that's a little bit harder to execute. They could consider a Kaiser ban if they're worried about potential dive. Lucian is another possibility.
Okay, I couldn't give you a list of rules, but in general, you want to make sure that that practice valuable. Placing limits on kills and epic objectives is. So again, what do you do, Jack, if you push up mid, you rotate to bot, and you're expecting to play for the tower because a good team will leave and give you the tower. Enemy team stays. What do? You just walk up to the tower, leave it, they clear the wave, therefore you don't get the tower either, and then you run back to mid lane. That only needs to happen twice before you would also lose the game. So what do you do? Do you just let them live, or what? Mega Cinema. Okay, good. Like I said, I switched to this version because I haven't seen these games, so I'm going to watch it like this. I love the Nico, like we talked about. It's like a range support in lane and a melee support afterwards. When you would violate the limits above, you can identify those situations after and work around them in game. That's not Jack. That's like that's the most academic answer I've ever heard. I don't know what that means. So I've pushed mid. I'm the mid laner. I've pushed mid. I've roamed to bot. I've done it exactly right. I've done the step by step. I've done the disciplined way of doing it. I've not killed the enemy mid laner because I'm disciplined. I could have killed him, but I've not killed him. I've just pushed up mid and I've walked to bot lane. We want to play for bot tower on this wave. We expect to just kill this bot tower on this big wave. Enemy stands under the tower and tries to clear the wave. What do we do? Do you want us to let them clear the wave? In which case, again, if that happens just a couple of times, yeah, it's hard. It's really hard. But like, I just mean in that one practical situation, what are you expecting your players to do? Because if you say, okay, just don't dive them, then they just go back to mid lane and you lose loads to roam and you gain nothing because you just not dive them. The reason that you dive them is because they mess up. So like, it's hard. It's just really, really hard. Let me just check take that command off.
It's really tricky for CFO to play. They want to poke a little bit with the equalizer, they want to poke a little bit with the Corki, and then they want to be able to dive into themselves.
Alright, well, let's jump into game 2, see how things pan out. Medic and I are going to do our best to oh, hang on.
Oh, Kyle is ignited, he's trying to dodge, misses with it.
Oh my god, stop. I'm changing stream stuff. Stop fighting, guys. Timers. Boom. Okay, got it.
It's really tricky for CFO to play. They want to
Right, we're literally going into a fight before this even finished. It's really unlikely the enemy team can completely gamify your system like that. No, it happens all the time. All the time. Against like, so we played against an LFL3 team. They're all they're like a bunch of them challenger players. Like they're good in lanes, but they just go into situations that look good and aren't allowed against a good team. Like clearing this wave, walking this faster route. It's not like when people are walking through the jungle and they get caught, they're just walking aimlessly. They walk through the jungle a faster route than normal and get caught. or a faster route than they should be allowed to go. But because their game sense isn't quite good enough, they walk through the quicker route. And so the problem is, if you let them go the quicker route, that's also not representative of how the game is either. That's the point I'm trying to make. Is that if you let people get away with the like inting plays, most of the time it's not inting because it's like, I'm trying to think of a different way to explain it, but basically like they're getting something if you don't punish them. And so if you let them get the thing, that's also not good representative practice. And I would argue that's further away from, that's like building worse habits. If you let people get away with stuff, that's worse habits than the other one. Oh my god. So, absolutely wild. Hope double kill. And first blood doesn't matter anymore. Like it used to matter a lot, but
Still has his barrier as well, just in case something goes wrong in the lane. We see Doggo standing a little bit further back as Kaya will land that blooming burst. And for the moment, it's going to be a very tricky situation for the CFO bot lane. The jungle starting on opposite sides of the map. Jinjo went razor beaks into Krugs, and then we'll do his red path towards top. Whereas we see the Wukong starting on the red buff going towards Krugs and then down towards
so it's the
bot.
Galio response. They didn't even ban it. They could have banned Galio 1, right? So they just really don't care about it.
On the mid lane, Driver understandably going to sit underneath his tower, knowing that he is largely on the weak side of the map for now. Oh, Shanks taking an unfavorable trade. Good route, will keep Honku in place, but doesn't have the W just yet, but he is close to getting it.
Does have his flash, does Shanks, so can escape Honku, who used his flash in that level 1. But Honku showing the power of the Gatling gun in the lane there, especially with Ryze having relatively short range. You can just Gatling down. Shanks looking for the overlap and he'll find it! And we just see Honku
Okay.
crazy, just as I'm praising him, Shanks puts him in his place.
I think the mistake from Honku was using that Q on the wave to last hit those two minions without that tool available with the long cooldown.
And this is the thing, yeah, you need to do. I mean, really good point from Vedius. Like as soon as someone's used their cooldowns, like they need to be punished for it.
Second fastest all-time first blood between these two teams.
Let me.
You saw that Q being used on the minions, and with that gone, it just Shanks knows I now have more damage than you at level 3. I get to press more buttons than you do, which results in a solo kill for Shanks.
But Honku maybe trying to rectify some of his earlier mistakes, hoping Kyle.
That's a dive. They are diving this tower, but
And this is the thing. So you asked about if Nico's like a Mumu, and in team fights it can look like a Mumu. It's not quite as good, but it can look. But in lane it looks like this, and a Mumu can't do this to the people in lane, and it's gonna be a toughie. So like here again, if you're playing against a bad team and they walk up, if you don't dive them, they clear the wave. So either you don't dive them, and so you don't push ahead, but you also let them push ahead. So then it's also, again, it's less close to actual representative gameplay than just diving them. So that's what I mean. Just in practice, it's not as simple as just low level teams are good practice. Could be good practice because we could just be more disciplined. It's not as simple as that, unfortunately. As most things in coaching are, like it's not as simple as we might like to be when we study these things.
everything is just going the way of anyone's edge right now. Ooh, you go to the tower.
Flash away from Shanks.
Ambitious. Yep, that was a close one, Shanks. But he is just denying Honku as much as he possibly can. Finally gets punished for his aggression. Nice roam comes through from Kaiwing. Still, though, AL in the driver's seat for now with the advantage that they've been able to build.
Honku will be very happy to get this wave pushed out. As the tier will start stacking up, they're going to be cool and start to build towards his first item. Hope is the big lead, really, for AL, as he has about 6,500 gold as his advantage. Double longsword pickaxe into a retreat.
Oh my god.
A sizable difference in terms of damage profiles right now.
This freeze is going to be really annoying to break, I think.
That's not Shanks. Surprise.
Okay.
I take a bit of damage, but nothing too serious. Again, we find
Because they have to fight for it, and they knew Wukong was bot side, so unless they happen to see him recall, which they don't, it's going to be an absolute nightmare for CFO bot lane to do anything about this.
Timeout. So again, an opportunity to farm. Full clear is going to continue to come through from the junglers, kind of as we expected. Level 6 is really important. Honku can have a little bit more range now that he has access to his ultimate as well. And Shanks is moving into the fog wall, so he does have his ulti. The bot lane is very healthy still, though. So Doggo.
This Lucian pick is dog shit.
Protect his wards.
I didn't see what else was still up.
Take that one down. Disguised as hope in that bottom side. Drake is up. Tarzan playing around that Scuttlecraft now. Hits the level 6 off it as well. So has the cyclone if he wants to look towards that bottom side. Tarzan claiming out a ward here.
It was blind, right? Why was it blind? Why do they blind pick Lucian when they can take Galio already? They could have just taken Galio, and then on 5 they can pick an AD and just not blind it. Like you could play Caitlyn Nico or something if the matchup was good. Like if it into this, you could play Caitlyn Nico, right?
Are going to look for the first neutral of the game.
I don't know what else Hope would want. You would also be threatening the stuff like Kalista.
With Shanks getting that solo kill, it's just AL are a little too strong right now. CFO, as we mentioned earlier, just need a bit of time and need a bit of a pause to get their footing back in before they really look for a fight. Shanks, though,
I think in that dive situation, so you dive them and you don't kill them, then it's much worse for you. So you don't make them low. Like you dive them and you leave the kills. That means that you get low, you lose loads of tempo, and you didn't kill them. Against like a lower tier team, as in, okay, so if we play against a mid-tier Prime League team, they're probably not good enough competition to give us good practice. But if we fake dives them and spend time diving them, like, you don't need to do that twice, I think, and they should win the game. Because, like, we're not talking like, if we played against bronze players, then yeah, sure, or like diamond players or whatever, or master players, okay, probably you can fake dives and stuff like that. But if you play against people who are worse, as in we should win 9 out of 10 games, but not worse, as in we should win 9,999 out of 10,000 games, then I think you can't do that either. So I think it's further away from practice. It could be that if you had robots who could like be mega, just had like this discipline switch on and off, it could be that the best thing to do would be half and half, but I think it's not really a solution, unfortunately. Let me turn off this voice widget until someone joins. Okay, so still a lead for AL. Teleport coming in. Okay. Wait, what was the... Fuck. What was the playback speed hotkey? Have I already forgotten this? Where can I find hotkeys? I've forgotten how to even find hotkeys. Okay, well, I'll do it manually. So, what have we got here? Okay, so because they just dropped that wave in bot lane, they're going to be here first. Teleport coming in. He's going to get chunked a bit. Oh, he tries to get some back, but doesn't. Aftershock down is a bit silly. So he's much more vulnerable now. The Nautilus. Tarzan's trying to play for the flank. Here is the reason you take Lucian. For these cull moments. Realm Walk gets Tarzan onto backline. Kael goes as well. That's a combo. So they just don't care about the grubs. Like, they lose 2 grubs so that they can set up. Are you counting as CFO Oceana gang?
So at least some good news as their camps are starting to fall on the top side.
Oceana-ish.
Looks like he's not that interested in it, to be honest.
How do I...
That's the idea behind the composition, right? Tarzan finds an angle in. And this is what I mean by the follow-up. Whether it's Kael to start the fight or Tarzan doesn't really matter.
Yeah, we were just talking about Rocco was talking about that.
This package arrives right on
Yeah.
the galley ultimate, quick to follow. The knockup comes through, the follow-up is there. And the one
Fair enough, I guess, if there's no UK players left in the LEC and I still act like I'm from a year. So you can have your full Taiwanese team be an Oceania team. That's okay. That's what we agree on. It's fair enough.
Well, Dragon's warning in about a minute 30 seconds. I imagine that they all want that. Yeah, they usually want every objective on the map.
It's going to be really interesting to see how CFO bounce back from this, because in game 1 they were able to get some of these early neutrals, they were able to get some of the stuff off the map. Here,
Yeah, but don't worry, because it's all the same region. That's what, again, if there was a UK team, it would not do too good.
You can't win out the trades against Shanks anymore. You lost your flash again. And the tower helping make the trade even, but with this constant pressure on side, it means that AL will always have access to the river first. Shanks is just going to keep the pressure up, hope with the essence we've already completed against Doggo as well. CFO just can't be afford to fight right now. And so every fight that they get baited into means that AL just get to accelerate the game even more than they already have. A 2k lead at 12 minutes in is a very...
Yeah, but this is my point. So they're from Taiwan, sure, but like none of the LEC players are from the UK, and I still root for them as if we're from the same region. So he's got a point. Riot have decided this is what the regions are, so it's your region.
Which just means it's more likely to be up for these big objectives, especially around the Rip Held, if he can manage to get there before Ginger actually fully upgrades his head. With a red buff up, Ginger should be able to get there within the next couple of minutes or so. He's got the Crocs as well. CFO posturing around the Drake. I don't think it's the best idea. Hooky is going to hit onto Kael. Just in there. Ginger going in.
Okay. They just come for the dragon and then just get mega chunked. And then jumped on. Okay, I need to work out. Okay, let me. I'll just Google it on another thing.
Quickly pick up 3 kills.
YouTube hotkeys.
They just spectated. Ginger thinks he can get a steal by coming in from the wall. Notice that Flandre has already rotated down into the mid lane. Has the ulti available. Shanks with the ulti as well. Flandre tries to join in on the portal, can't quite get in range. And while the ultimate is pretty good from Ginger, he gets locked down by Kael. Tarzan able to pick up the kill onto Ginger. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, in the mid lane, 2 fall as well. AL picking up 3 kills, second dragon of the game.
Wait.
A 4k core lead, and game 2 feels near but almost over.
The only speck of blue down towards the bottom is Driver, who has about 600 gold lead. Most of that because Flandre wasn't there for the last couple of minutes.
I mean,
Shanks at this MSI
I found a list and it didn't tell me the one I wanted.
involved in 7 of the team's 8 kills, 14 minutes in, has a huge gold lead as well. And for CFO, you're really looking at, like, can we find a pick? Can we play around pocket vision? They do have some vision up towards the top side with the Rift Tower there. But as you can see, Ginger's still yet to complete that.
Shift.
I know that LPL fans have been really enthusiastic about showcasing Shanks on the international stage, and I do hope his performance will garner him more attention, more fans. I mean, his series versus Shogi was already incredibly impressive. The fact that he's continuing that level of dominance. Game 1 he was a little bit quiet, but in so many of those fights he was kind of the quiet carry. Like, you highlighted a lot, the individual goal lead that he was able to build. And
Just like this.
completely singling Honku out of the game.
Okay, we're good, we're good, we're good.
He's having a fantastic performance, and he's going to continue to do so, I expect, throughout this series. Kind of take stock of the situation, and it's Rift Tower on the map. And the problem for CFOs, even though they have that first item completed, I don't know if they actually feel strong enough to go for a fight. Might be the last opportunity, because I guess you could argue that in terms of... Oh, never mind, that's a... Before we quickly finish. Or hope. I was about to say, in terms of itemization, they're not too far apart, and then the second item gets finished with illusion, you're like, okay, you're a little bit behind now.
Just a smidge, buddy, just a smidge. At the moment, though, Tarzan is on the bottom side of the map, shadowing Shanks.
Is that a play here?
I mean, it's always possible. Tarzan will play out of the vision. Shanks decides against the play, as you have to feel with probably the key objective. AL could play for first tower as well for the piece of strength. They managed to chunk these out quite a bit, holding down to about half HP, at least in this mid lane for now. Just let the Wukong play it through his entire jungle and then work your way up towards the top side. TP coming out from Shanks. He's going to match Honky once again. You see a little bit of vision invested to get sight on CFO's blue side jungle.
I had oysters the other day for the first time in northern France. Don't really get it. Maybe they weren't good oysters, but they just didn't really have any taste. So like some good olive oil, I'm happy to have. But isn't it just... I love mussels, for example. But again, that's mostly the sauce, but they do have some taste still.
I think CFO might still try and
Like mulled frites, amazing.
From Doggo, he's a long way away right now. Can jump in. Ginger trying to posture around it.
And I love how you can try it all over France and it's quite different.
He does still have that Pop Blossom Torn coming out. It's going to land, but only onto the Nautilus. There's a culling follow-up. Dead shot. Pop Blossom.
Okay, they just one-tap someone.
Who just goes pop. Hero's entrance comes in for the magic shield on
I do actually think that this Galio counter is really good, and I don't understand why they didn't ban it.
Taken out of the fight. They'll get one in response. Tarzan has fallen, but the objective and the win in the fight goes over to AL once again.
And they take the dragon as well.
I feel like this is not the way you do it. They just approach the objective, not respecting the amount of control that they have. At the very least, they do get a shutdown onto Tarzan. But 2 kills go the way of AL. Kaiwing, he knows that they don't have control. He walks up towards the brush anyway, working with Ginger, thinking they can at the very least maybe get some space back. But look at the lockdown that comes through. Now, admittedly, a lot was used on the Kaiwing, which is they don't really have that many tools to chase after. Doggo commits the ulti. The fight
I mean, I'm just going to keep this one at ×2, because I do want to get through this whole series if I can. I mean, I still have like at least 45 minutes. But I like to say, I think the most important thing that I want to watch is the Pave interview, to be quite honest. There's a place in Lyon just down the road that is... they just... I mean, they don't actually just, but they're like... it's just an olive oil shop. So they have a whole like wall of olive oils, and you can try them all and choose them. And what else? Not just olive oil, but balsamic vinegar. Oh, okay. That was actually a very good. Like you find this little window. You give up a wave top lane, so you can't when you're behind. You can't force a play like that without giving something up. So instead, they just drop a wave in top side and then do it. Ah, fuck's sake. Okay, that's something I'll need to bear in mind. My hotkey for clipping is the same as reload.
Able to survive through the burst of CFO.
Really nice idea, very well executed, just not quite enough damage. They're just too far behind in terms of the gold. They don't have the items needed to secure a kill. Hope is able to flash away.
Yeah, but on the other hand, if you go through it, like I live in France, so Italy's much closer, much less air miles, travel time, all those kind of things. But yeah, I've been trying a lot of different ones. My eyes have been opened. And balsamic vinegar as well can be amazing. They have a balsamic vinegar, 50 millimeters, is 460 euros. That's quite expensive. That's the kind of thing you see on like YouTube videos. I've never seen it in a shop, just sitting on the side.
Start up this Articuno, at least pull CFO into a tricky situation. TP comes out as well from Drivers. He wants to join the fight. Has the equalizer available. All ults up from either side.
Okay.
Around that mid tier 2, currently hovering in that fog of war.
They're going to be pushing this. They've pushed up mid. And again, like CFO just dropping waves to make fights happen. And I think that's good with this kind of comp. Obviously, like Kaiser still needs to get as much gold as possible. Corki still needs to go to gold as much gold as possible. But if you just fully, if you don't force anything, like if you just fully leave it, then I don't think that's also a solution to get back into the game when you're this far behind.
takes up residence on the top side of the map.
Nico and Timo. Okay, but one of those is legit. Which one has a higher win rate? Your Timo support or your Nico support? Was it? Drop the OPGG. We have to check. I'm not. I'll believe you when you show me. I'll believe you when you show it to me. 62% Timo support. Yeah. I think you've got a higher win rate on Nico support, and Timo is just there like 55%, like chugging along. Oh no. No, you can't even share because my bot accidentally banned you. I lie often. Amazing. It's a problem. So here, like, they're just trapping in a bush. They're just waiting stuff.
I love this idea from CFO.
Like, you've got to do something.
Situation that you can go for when you're this far down.
Fight their way back into the game.
Yet to actually start the subjective off.
Oh, Driver's like, oh my god, I messed up.
He's not falling for it though.
They don't have to.
How do they not fall for
They're
this?
already so far ahead that Driver is purely a cherry on the top of the cake. Artakan is the main objective, and they're just.
How long have they waited in this bush?
Both spent a lot of time here though. Admittedly, AL haven't gotten a huge amount for it. They've just been clearing out waves and a lot of damage done onto Flandre.
The problem for CFO is that sequence, the bait bush, didn't work, and now Ocean Drake is up in 20 seconds.
Yep.
So a fight has to happen. You can't just be sitting, waiting to see if they start the Artakan. Teleport coming in as well by Flandre. AL want this fight.
Yes, they do. But AL again smothering the vision. They see so much and CFO see so little. Clone will be used. CFO fight back as they.
Okay, I mean, it's only 23 minutes, by the way, and they've got 5k gold lead and 3 dragons. Just take the soul, guys. Don't fuck with the Atakan yet. Take the soul now and then do the Atakan, and then you've also got Ocean for the Atakan. Ooh, the flash. He gets Sonya's. What the hell is happening? They're all dying. Where's Tarzan's second ult? How is this game cinema, guys? How did they not just end this game? How is this not Soul, Atakan? I can't tell if you're trolling me. It's fair enough because I've done it before with the saying it's a draft meeting where really we've run the game. But like this surely is Atakan, Soul. It's done. It's done. Keep watching. Ominous, ominous. I love it. 7k. There's some shutdowns. Nearly 1k for both Rise and Lucian. Well, we don't even have massive pick potential. There's no flash on Skarner as well. Okay, there's no push on mid, but they're just bringing them forward. Okay. So they just insta-go. Teleport coming. They go on the front line. But 3-man Impale. And then Doggo kills him on the back line as well. And this is why just perfect, like just fighting for everything all the time. I mean, this is a really bad engage. And there's 3 people on that side with Corki and Kaiser. Just absolutely murdering everybody. Yeah, we love fighting in Australia, don't we? Australian League of Legends is what we do.
player in the LCP.
No, but that was insane.
He gets the 3-man Impale turn it around.
I hope we get the gold
Impale.
Plus 1.2, well, 1K
Sorry, medic.
for CFO.
Made you sound
What a
silly.
monstrous gold swing. And these are the situations that we always theorize when we cast games, medic, but rarely do they ever actualize. CFO with a monstrous punish.
Oh my god, that was a 7k swing.
They can look to contest the Elder with an Elder. They have all the tools they need to win this game. And there's so much standing gold on the
No, but AL take that fight against everyone, by the way. They take that against BLG, they take that against... They win it 8 times out of 10. Or 9 times out of 10.
First time in this game since 30 seconds in that they have been on the back foot.
That was 8k gold to one. What? That's a 9k gold swing? 9k, right?
Sally probably said the game was over.
Oh, right. Classic. I mean, we said the game was over.
Yes, we did. It's CFO.
Pushing in the mid lane as well. AL committed 5 members on the bot side of the map.
The risk for Honku is the realm war, right?
Wait, he's just going to let the minions do the work. He doesn't have to overextend it. CFO going to continue their pressure on the bot side.
A minute before the Elder. Void Seeker's coming.
Larry the Huntsman Spider.
Another one in 10 seconds time. Wave in bot about 20 or so. As Shanks has finally answered mid. Andre forces Justice Punch away. Has a magic damage shield, so should be fine against that Kaiser for now.
Well, here we go, medic. The Elder.
There are some things about Australian life that I'm so jealous of.
It's now a very viable option. A window presented.
Look at the goal difference between Honku and Shanks.
The amount of things that can kill you that might just be like in your house.
This guy's having
Not one of those
absolutely
things.
exceptional MSI. Winning lane against Faker a couple times in that series.
Okay, he was embodied in this game.
I'm just saying, this game was the aberration in the early game, and now he's back to his position, you know?
Now he's back. He is definitely back.
Interesting build as well. Black Cleaver, Spear, Manamune, and the
Seeing
GA now.
for a lot of Corki so far this tournament. Which will shred a lot more cooldown direction.
Okay,
as well.
so
So go, Elder going to be spawning. It's CFO this time around.
Elder,
It's AL who have to walk in. Remember, they have that
you got Atakan and you're only just up in flowers, by the way.
into the darkness. The Elder getting shredded immediately down to 6.
Had a lot more cooldown direction, a lot more HP as well. So here we go. Elder going to be spawning. It's CFO this time around with position on the dragon.
There's GA on Corki. Is this like shred Corki build that helps the Kaiser as well? The Kaiser is actually on hit AP, so... Elder's taking so much damage and they're keeping Tarzan away. Yeah, they keep him out, they get Elder. Ginger gets him, so that's going to be 1. Oh, driver! I thought he had more. I thought he could flash there with his Q and get like at least flashes, if not some kills. Because he would just need like 1 tick to kill a couple of people. Okay, but as I happen to know that it's 4 games, and I happen to know that Tabe does an interview after this, this was not a close series. Like, 1 fight you threw. This is the other thing that you see in LPL teams. Like, they really push best of 5s. Like, they don't care about dropping a game. Okay. I thought you were going to say, like, they actually end up losing this game now. It's losable. Like, they have the Ocean Soul. I think they've scaled pretty well, though. They've got the Elder. He's going to die. And Ginger gets 2 people. You are literally just fighting your way out of having enemy having Elder. I think he kills him here afterwards, doesn't he? Yeah, I think he just kills him. Yeah. You try to fight your way out of Elder. But this is what I was saying. Like, LPL teams, like, we have this thing in Europe so often where we're so precious about every single game in a best of 5. And they do not do that in the LPL.
My goodness. AL into the face of the Elder. Chase down CFO. Only now will the Elder wear off, but another Baron is going to be secured for CFO. The gold lead now. Monstrous Tarzan trying to get in range, but it will be too little, too late. The second Baron goes to CFO. My goodness. What felt like a one-sided game, a foregone conclusion. 33 minutes in. We are at 31 kills. CFO with a 5.7k gold lead. And they are 1 fight away from being able to equalize this series.
So, mid lane inhibitor for AL respawns in 2 minutes 40
Okay.
seconds. Elder Dragon respawns in 2 minutes 40 seconds. The Baron remains on CFO for the next 2.5 minutes, and they'll try and use it to push forward. Shanks going to realm warp out here. We're scared of
Shanks round warps away.
CFO is full build. He went from, what, I think 1 and 5 to 9 and 5?
Yeah, he did. You look at Shanks, he's only had 3 items. Honku is just incredibly accelerated.
They're going to get this tower as well. Next Elder in 2 minutes. And now they've got the stronger 5v5, so this stage of the game, 34 minutes in, it's hard to do anything about that. Tarzan's looking for a big flank. They need to just one-shot Doggo, I guess.
CFO.
But then there's also Onq, although he's much less hard carry build than it's not like Eddie carry Corki, right?
Junja, though, with these impales has been absolutely on the mark.
If Corki can buy blood mail, something's wrong with this item, by the way. Okay, nice engage. Good combo. They're going to get 2. They're maybe going to get 3. And the Ocean Soul is going to get them to stay high HP. Going to give them position on Elder, but not actually the Elder Dragon.
But they don't have the vision. They don't have that flank opportunity.
I mean, that's the scary thing. CFO have demonstrated throughout this game that no matter how far behind they are, they will continue to look for fights. Guess what? AL is exactly the same. It doesn't matter what position they're in, they will continue to look for a fight. And they found another fantastic angle. Kaiwing went a little
too early.
The hook. It doesn't quite connect. It drags him into the
What's this aware thing? Am I old? Have I just missed this?
They engage a little too far. AL can quickly respond, and so they keep their base alive. The Baron is going to wear off. Not much gold gained off the back of it. And the later and later we go, this gold difference really doesn't mean much. There's a few more items.
Yeah, gold at this stage doesn't really matter.
And once they have it, it's all going to come down to team fight execution. And we've seen these team fights can go either way.
CFO trying to get control over the river with Elder up in 1 second time. Mid lane inhibitors respawn, so his only normal cannon minions meeting in that mid lane. Tarzan so constantly looking for the flanks here. Has that hero's entrance to back him up and has the flash. No flash at the moment on Driver, but it's about to come off cooldown. I think Honkyu's is on cooldown as well right now. So there's always the risk. If you can catch out Honkyu, his Guardian Angel, still a few seconds before that comes back up as well. The waves really don't matter right now.
Okay.
Pushed in towards CFO's base as
It's just an emote.
up, but you can see
Shall I add it?
does on Shanks, though. He's taken down
Let me
by a
save
third.
that for later.
Shape splitter used to get a little bit of vision in here.
I'm assuming I can just... I'm sure there's a way to do that. I'll just add it.
Regenerated for Shanks.
Just for you, Sol.
Good position in the river. You can feel the tension between these two teams. Are they going to be
I don't actually know. Like, I've got a way to look at chat that's like...
they were when they last had the Baron. They've got to be cautious.
It's just for...
AL tried to attack from. They've set their sights on the Flandre.
They land the dredge line, but look at Tarzan across the
Okay,
wall.
wait, let me look at this
Goes
first.
in with a cyclone and forces them off his top laner. Kaiwing down to
Okay.
half HP.
So Cyclone down. Oh, that combo is terrible. Rise ult coming from behind as well. And he just has to cancel it, like not go in. It's a really nice Lucian ult. Rumble ult on the backside, not so good. And now here's where Ocean Soul is insane because like actually the damage was much closer to even than this looks, and now there's the regen just coming back. So that should be Elder. They're gonna have to jump in and fight. They can't drop this, I think. Okay, no, they're gonna drop it. So that's gonna give them the Baron as well. And that should be the game. Again, the other way. Yeah, yeah. GG, no way CFO can come back from this. I like doing this actually a bit more like a co-stream. We'll do it like this. I'll do ruffle files for stuff that I need to look deeper into. So they're just going to nuke the waves as much as they can so that when enemy does get Baron, they still, like, they have as much time as possible.
Once the Elder is gone, then CFO could probably look for a fight. The wave player's going to come through. They want to keep the pressure up. Shanks going back to base. Numbers advantage for CFO, but again, against this Elder, it's a scary thing to try and force. The TP is available for the Rise.
Honky just trying to harass down this wave from mid lane. From range, in fact. As AL won't push any further. TP to the mid lane. The Elder will expire in the next 15 seconds or so. There's the equalizer on the way, but the Baron minions don't take too much damage. They're trying to clear it out. AL will play for the mid lane in hit, and they'll secure it. CFO wisely backing away. No wave here on the top side, but that's how it is down to a third. And AL might just think they can tank it up. They start to do so. Takes a chunk, but it takes a while. Tarzan down to half HP himself, but in the end, AL will secure the in-hit tower. Elder about to expire. There it goes. It's off. CFO still. Backed away.
Okay, so they've got 2 inhibs.
AL now can slow down with the pressure though. They're continuing with the push. Junja is incredibly
So just like this first, like the first phase of the fight has to go really well for CFO because otherwise Ocean Soul is too strong.
Stay strong. No objectives on the map, really, so AL have to keep the pressure
So that instant like shotgun needs to hit and needs to get a couple of people, needs to like get them down. Okay. The Impale is not very good. Triple Pop Blossom. Someone dies, and now they're just going to back away, and they look at this Ocean Soul like ticking them back up again. They just start hitting things, and they might as well have just have the base, you know? They're just getting back to full HP. Now they dive. Now the ult comes through, uses the GA really well just to buy a lot of space and time. Galio jumps in. Okay. So it won't be. I thought this was going to be the game that CFO win, and then the whole thing is like really one-sided. Okay, I'm going to quickly go to the toilet, then I'll be back for the next game. I like doing it like this. We can do it with just a bit more fun, and then anything that comes up that I really want to talk about, we can look at in the.
Gonna head over to the analyst desk to break down that game, and CFO's unlikely comeback just ripped out of their grasp.
That was absolutely insane here. So much back and forth when, honestly, guys, looking at the first 20-25 minutes of the game, I thought it was completely cooked. For CFO, but they managed to crawl their way back into that game.
Yeah, so many things seem to go wrong for CFO from the level 1, right? Where they give up 2 kills to 1. They're trying for the Nautilus level 1. You see the idea. Hope exits with 2 kills. Shanks is consistently getting the better of Honkyu. They set up the map, and then that Baron fight happened.
Oh, God.
And it was AL's game to lose, but thanks to the reliable Cisco network, CFO comes back thanks to Jujia, going into the Baron pit, setting up everything for his teammate to unleash the 7 hounds on AL.
With everything that happened in that early game, they had a 7K gold lead. It was insane at that point. So when we do show that replay, going from a 7K gold lead, having that fight happen, get it completely erased, and it's like a 9K gold swing right after the Baron was like completely
Right, let's jump to the next one.
Once we see the replay.
2-0. Was this first pick? So this is what happens by the time you get to like game 3 in Fearless, is that you have weird stuff with supports, especially. So you're in a situation where you it can be really pinched, and Alistar's gone, so Rel is better, and he full flexes all the bans, Tabe, on the first 3.
Also banned away. That pool slowly starts to get pinched with the Caitlyn taken away as well. I wonder if we'll see something new from Hope, or whether he will just stick to the Xayah. The Victor going to be taken away, known as a very safe control mage pick into the Annie.
Okay, so how do I actually add this emote? Let's find this out. I have to add it to an emote set. Scrims are not today. We're scrimming every other day at the moment. So scrims are tomorrow. In the evening again, unfortunately, because Yankos is co-streaming MSI, so he streams from 2 AM to 7 AM. So we can't play scrims from midday and then have him stream from midday until 7 AM. So we have to do evening scrims, unfortunately.
Keeping your top lane pick for last if you're CFO. Trundle can go top, but
I'm watching it blind. I can guess because I wanted to watch the Roffle files initially. So from tomorrow, I'll watch the streams and I won't know. I'll do full blind. I'll call it restreaming MSI or something like that, or watch party, MSI watch party, rather than like in-depth review. So I'm not going to look at the Roffle files, because it's just like work, and to be honest, the thing I should do is not talk and just like sit and lock in. But I have seen that Tabe does an interview, and I think it's probably rare that he goes on a stream and talks in a foreign language if he just lost, especially just lost as the top seed to CFO. So this is my guess, and I also know there's 4 games because there's only 4 Roffle files. But from tomorrow, I won't know anything. We'll do it like that. Settings, stream, emotes.
They're very much feeling. Jinx, I mean, doesn't have a lot of protection in a composition like this, but against an Ezreal, you should feel pretty safe to free farm. There we go. Going back to the Xayah that we kind of expected to come through. I think it's nice into the Trundle pillar specifically. We're going to go for a blind Gwen for Flandre.
Sorry, I'm doing
Does love his Gwen.
this. I'm sorting out this emote.
Could just be a safe top side pick if they want something that has sideline threat, also decent team fighting. They're going to go for the Gwen. Of course, now Rest could pick up the Jax for himself. Even though he's super comfortable on the Cassante, I don't know if I love it into Gwen. I feel like that you're kind of giving the Gwen a bit of a free lane. I mean, I guess you could argue that you just fully itemize on the magic resistance, but at the same time, I feel like that you never really have any kill threat on the Gwen.
Yeah.
So you're just kind of leaving her to her own devices.
How do you feel about it compositionally if it is locked
Wait,
in?
what?
It is actually going to be the Gnar in the end. Looking for that range advantage over the Gwen in the early game, get a lot of grasps,
Okay.
procs off, but Gwen obviously
Failed so
later on
far.
can just take over side lanes.
Yeah, it's
I'll look at the draft in a second.
in favor of the Gnar.
We're getting there.
But
How do you feel about it composition?
Okay, sorry. This sticks. Properties. So I just need it as a PNG. I can't have it as a like. I can't have it as a GIF. Nope. Yeah, but I couldn't. I don't know how to add it. Do I have to make an emote set? But I want it to be a GIF, right? I want it to move. Isn't that the whole point? Okay, I'm not going to do it now. This was
If it is locked in.
this is. I thought it would be easy.
The Gnar
Okay, so not last. Like I said, Rel first pick with no Alistar. There is still Braum though. Wait, they don't get Braum on. Okay, I was going to say if they fucking get Braum on 4 when you first pick Rel. Annie blind. There's no. Is that Ari? No, Ari is a good matchup. Is a good matchup for Annie. So, I think Ari Lee I would have liked here as well, because just really annoying for Trundle. Then instead you drop AD, double AD ban. You go for the Kai'Sa. Seems a bit odd. This draft is a bit weird.
leaving her to her own devices.
Zaya wants everyone to dive onto her,
if
but
it is locked in.
we
It
have
is
less
actually going to be
range
the Gnar
than the enemy
in
team.
the end. Looking for that range advantage over the Gwen in the early game, get a lot of grasps, procs off.
Ah,
Gwen obviously later on can just take over side lanes.
Yeah, it's much more of a lane bully in favor of the Gnar, but I think it reaches a point where the Gwen
Okay.
starts to go down the matchup. In terms of team fight value, Gnar synergizes very nicely with CFO's comp. They've got like a
because I think Zaya doesn't actually deal that well against their comp. I don't think like stuff like Ori and things that can just play against her on range, and Ezreal I think is harder for Zaya than anything else.
Zaya, really. If the Trundle's kind of running at you, Zaya loves that. And while the Braum can of course be obnoxious for the feathers, it's a situation I think is difficult for the Trundle to deal with. So again, I do kind of favor AO's composition. I just feel like they have a lot of duels, and I think that in the early game they have been the team that's consistently found these advantages. So looking at this Annie Lee Sin, I would be very afraid going into that, especially in the hands of Tarzan.
Oh, 100%. Tarzan on his fabled Lee Sin. Hasn't got out yet at MSI.
Yeah.
Something he's been known for across the years of his
I mean-
having so far as well. Giving him something that playmaking potential just really facilitates anyone's legend through this early game. Okay, we're just all running into the same bush. Are we timing
For me, I think I'd rather have a CFO comp this one.
Well, he wisely walks away from them this time, Vedius. Kyle can always jump across the wall here, as we're going to actually head over to a quick interview, and Shox is standing by with Cable.
I sure am. Hello, Mark. How's it going?
It's going great. This is amazing. Being in the venue, the crowd's really loud. It's really fun to see these games. Oh my god, we're on level 1 fight. This is quest 4 to the idea. Big summon with the W's get out of the home queue. Kyle, we're going to try and get away with the flash and the flash with you as well.
Let's go. He still got it, guys. Hey, what's your thought on the? I mean, they chose red side finally. CFO. Do you think they used it to their advantage?
I mean, they got Orianna into Annie, which is a good lane. They counterpicked the Gwen, but I don't think the Gnar is that big of a counter. I think the Orianna is going to need a lot of help this game. I think it's all going to be about mid.
What did you gut tell you?
I think AL's comp is going to be a trio.
Thank you. Enjoy streaming over here.
A 3-0 for AL's comp.
Okay.
Not too excited. But they did brew him. So a bunch of flashes burnt in the early game. Great job from Cable for narrating that for us. Ginger no longer has a flash, got his home queue. Kyle has neither of his summoners down towards this bottom lane. There's Shanks burnt his
Feathers
flash.
coming out.
Andre. Less summoners overall coming out from AL.
Oh, that's a lot of damage on the Kyle. Just got to be careful here. Doggo with pinpoint accuracy on that Ezreal.
I think the thing is, if you're Kyle, Doggo has to use his one and only health pot, and you have 2. So you're kind of okay with that trade, especially if you can get towards level 2 first.
Very, very good point, Medic. And while AL get the push to the bot side of the map, Shanks, wow, he's bullying out Honku in this early matchup. Normally the Orianna has the advantage early on because the Annie's, well, the Q when you use it on your opponent increases the cooldown, you don't get the cooldown reduction compared to when you're hitting the last hitting those minions. And And all you have that slight range advantage, so you can just kind of bully out your
Okay.
and you can slow her down. But Shanks finding some good angles of attack, getting a push in this matchup. And right now, AL just kind of have free pushing lanes. The Lee Sin is going to be pathing towards the top side.
AL just pushing each lane, but the Trundle is so strong in the 1v1 that I don't think there's actually all that much you can do, like, to like really pressure this. Like if it was the other way around, maybe you would. You can get small versions of those meat cylinders, by the way. You can get one that's literally designed for individual people on the desk. Do you know the YouTube channel Sorted Food? If so, they did a gadget review of it. I really want one. It's so unnecessary, but I really want one. Wait, let me see if I can find it. I'll find it. What is it even called? It's called the Kebab Master Pro.
Feels so slow without 4 kills in level 1. Really, does it? With 5 minutes in and no one has a 1,000 gold lead.
Still keeping my eyes on these junglers, though. I feel like
Where's my stream manager thing?
mid lane matchup is super important. This is more
Boom.
expected matchup. Honky utilizing his range to chip away Shanks' HP. After the back, he's feeling a lot more confident in that matchup now. The wave states are a really good decision for him. He can just keep doing exactly what you're seeing.
I don't know how much it is though.
He's got level 6, he's got range. The level 6 if he ticked over by Shanks, popping the E as well.
Yeah, 130.
And it's a little too low, I think, for Honky to actually threaten a kill.
Both of them going to have their flashes coming back up at the same time as Kaiwen tries to hold the wave here underneath the tower, won't be able to do so. And AL wisely back away, not really forcing for that play. Want to get the recall off to match the fact that Bob got back and got himself a tier. And the
Or
double
120 for a different version of the same thing.
Shadows mid lane. I mean, if Shanks flashes in and lands that Tibbers with the stun up, there's a shockwave.
I love
Flashes away well.
like kebab and shawarma and stuff like that. It's such
He's definitely very suspicious from Honky's perspective.
Anyway, League of Legends. Kyle can just annoy this Trundle here. These early Ocean Dragons are so annoying. Oh, he misses everything. Flandre's here as well. And he's gone top lane. How does this lane assignment? I mean, it goes horribly. It's interesting. Okay, so Gwen bases, has TP. TP's top. Crashes a wave in. Runs mid to secure this mid wave and then come and join the fight. And so Annie just runs top. So again, this isn't like we were talking about before. This isn't about getting the best prios. This is just about making sure we're not dropping waves. Ah! I knew it was coming. I still hated it. Some feathers here, but Ezreal's so strong in these kind of fights. Ezreal and Braum is in these little skirmishes. Just cycling the passive, keeping up the lethal tempo. Okay. The pullback because they wanted to give the kill. Really able to get involved in the play. He also went to the top side of the map as Flandre rotates down. The re-arrival of Honky means that AL are fighting this fight on 2 different fronts. Tarzan has already been forced to use W. It's hard for him to get back into the fight, and the engage comes through from Kyle. But CFO wisely, they just hold their ground. Ginger is forced to flash out of the fight, but Gogo, he again just isn't. By the way, if anyone watching, I now have a Discord. You can join. We're going to gradually make it an actual thing and talk about things. Don't don't spoil the games on Discord because I might look at Discord before I look at the games. Ah, fuck it, just do whatever. I'll make it. We'll make it work.
CFO being as proactive as they can be on the map. After losing the grubs, right now the focus is on farming. We expect CE readjustment of the lane assignments in the near future as the Dragon will be the next big point of contention. But for now, just a trade back and forth between the two teams, working towards that next major. Either Honky going for the rower build, seeing it so often on mid lane majors.
Ooh, Unbreakable the wrong way. Doggo be smurfing. I mean, I think I know the next two results now. I think CFO win this game and AL win the next one. But tomorrow I'll be full blind, so you can, I guess, mess with me however you wish. But today I think I know, because like I said, you don't do interviews after you just lose, and if you are the top Chinese team and you lose to a CFO, you don't go on and do an interview. So we'll look at that after this. Yeah, I know it's 3-1 as well because I was looking at the Roffle files and I was covering the thing with my hand to stop spoiling it, but there's only 4 files, so infiltrated your walls. What did you call the spider? You can read that on the Discord. Scouting for LR. The spider on the wall. Just whispering like, play Teemo. How about Teemo support here? Weak mental to not do an interview. That's so toxic. Weak mental to not do an interview after a loss. I don't mean like it's not the press interview. It's just like going on Cagel's stream and chatting shit with Cagel for half an hour. It's not quite the same. Hey Nico. I used to do interviews when we won or lost. I would always go on Solaris stream and do an interview. And the first time, by the way, I said I would do it, and the first time we lost the game, I was like, okay, cool, coming over now. And they were like, what do you mean we've turned off the stream? And I was like, I said I'd do one after a loss. He's like, yeah, we thought you just wouldn't. We thought you would just say that you would do it, and then you just wouldn't. Okay, TP comes in. Nice flank from Annie. Another TP coming from the same place, but you see it. So Gwen and Annie on good positions. Again, they could give a fuck about the objective, apparently. Nice shockwave. Gwen gets completely shut down in this fight. Gnar absolutely shuts out Gwen and kills Shanks. Look at Gnar in this fight. So he sees them. He sees the TP coming through. So he holds off Gwen completely. Gwen ends up using basically everything on Gnar. She's trying to throw the ult over the wall to get a little bit more damage. So then he basically gets rid of one solo laner, puts them low enough. And now, did you look at the video I linked?
What was the game plan here from AL?
It's like 120 euros. So I don't know how much that is in your fake Aussie dollars.
CFO happily pick up another kill. I think they even got 2 off the back of that. But look back at it, the engage comes from Kyle, 0 follow-up.
I mean,
the Braum is in the way. He does get the knock-up onto the Orianna, but there's no follow-through.
I just think Gnar mega smurfs this fight. Both the solo lanes of AL don't do anything because of Gnar, pretty much.
Put CFO in a great position here in this early game.
Flying high early on here, 2,000 gold, the Oysters lead. And a lot of that sitting on rest in this top lane. Had the Trinity Force completed just before that fight. Has a 20 CS lead over the Gwen. It's about 800 gold.
Okay.
2 dragons, CFO are the ones who
2k now for CFO and 2 dragons.
Otherwise, you're looking down at Soul Point and it's Mountain Soul as well. When you have a burst
Just add 50% for Euro and that's the Aussie dollar value.
makes it so hard for you to actually get your damage to stick.
Yeah.
But
But at least, like, the thing with Euros is that if someone says Euros, you know what they mean. If someone says dollars, what are we thinking about? Australian dollars? Just saying. I'm not an economist, but I'm sure that matters somehow. Okay. No, but my point is, okay, so it's just not that expensive, is what I mean. It's expensive and it's ridiculous, and you shouldn't buy one. But I'm also so jealous if you do buy one.
Now it's just Rest, a bit isolated from his team. AL threatening a trap. Will Rest fall for it?
CFO sent something up here, don't they? They haven't seen Tarzan or Shanks for a little while. Rest.
No, I know you use your own currency. I just mean, if the world hears the name of your currency, they don't think about you. If you hear pounds,
They haven't seen Tarzan or Shanks for a
who
little while.
are you thinking about? Euros, who are you thinking about?
Coming in towards that Tribush. AL had a little bit of vision up towards the top side. They're going to lose it.
That's all I mean. Okay. They try and catch onto Ezreal here, and like they almost catch him, but already it's like really dire, right? Like it's already not a great state, and like I said, I don't like this comp from AL so much. It's kind of hard actually to wombo someone, because here you catch the AD carry, and yeah, Annie doesn't, but Braum is there, exhaust comes down, knockup comes down, Lee Sin gets ulted by Trundle, and then he just is mega squishy. So they can start the Herald. And now the like shotgun part is gone, and even though you've still got Tibbers, I think no one's one-shotable. Probably.
Tarzan's low doesn't have his Dragon's Rage.
Both mid laners have their ultis available. You can see that Shanks is in a position looking.
Yeah, but if you're using the try code when you talk to each other, that's cheating. That's all. Okay, well, I keep getting distracted. It's much more fun doing it like this. Okay. They come in for Herald. Hits a double Tibbers, and it doesn't matter because I think the comp is bad. I don't think. I mean, bad is too much of a stretch. But don't think there's any easy targets really. I'm gonna do the interview afterwards. I'll do a whole like reacting to the interview after the series because that's kind of one of the things I'm very interested in doing.
They tried to get into the pit, nowhere near. Tarzan doesn't have a threat of smite. It's a good anti-ultimate to connect on the 3. The shockwave in response only connects on the 1. But Kaiwing is just blocking so much damage in the front to back. It feels like CFO feel way more comfortable. And while there's an exchange of jungler for support, walk away with the Herald, so I don't think CFO is too upset about that.
Even with a great stun coming out from Shanks, it wasn't enough for AL. They just didn't have the damage follow-up. They couldn't close that gap quickly enough. Good shockwave as well from Hongq to distract the backline. You can't step forward. The ball is that looming threat. Rodaway just 5 stacks on it now for Hongq, halfway to getting that extra level.
Yeah, I mean, that shockwave it only connected on the 1 rather, but the zone that it controlled exactly was really well done. All right, we take stock and it's 2.
I think Tabe it might be the best coach in the world. I don't know if that doesn't mean having not seen the interview, I might disagree with a lot of what he says, but you can't argue with his results, man. Like he's been mega smurfing the last like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, they're probably going to try and force their way in anyway. Tarzan's going to steal away the Raptors.
It's very hard to tell what a coach does, obviously, but just based on how he's taken rosters that no one likes or players that no one wants and built either championship or close to championship teams like over and over again, it's super impressive. Okay.
I have to question the decision making there from Kaiwing. Face checking into a brush when the rest of
What
his
do you mean if you can't tell?
isolated.
This is another one of those situations. How are you actually suggesting that we tell? He's taken AL roster. These players have played for a while. No one wanted Tarzan. Like he had 4 of the same players who played together without him and weren't good. And he had a player that no one wanted and was without a team for like nearly a year. And then he won the hardest league in the world. If you want to say, okay, maybe the players just suddenly all started smurfing when he joined. Okay, maybe. But he's also done that consistently. Like BLG before they put together their super team when he first sort of really broke onto the team, the scene a few years ago. Like the other thing as well is that all Tabe teams play like Tabe teams. These players, some of them did already on like OMG and stuff like that, but they play a lot more like Tabe teams when he's on the team. Tabe teams when he's on the team. They're very different coaches, right? Like Koma is was a StarCraft pro and stuff like that, whereas Tabe obviously was a League of Legends pro and a very good one. Any support, that was a Tabe invention. Flandre's going to die.
So CFO were losing a bit of control, but then they find a pick on the bot side and quickly convert it into a tower. Now that's 3 out of towers, the advantage for CFO. And AL, I feel like all they're doing is punishing the position.
Teemo support with the next innovation, okay.
A lot more respectful, even though they have the
We
goal,
will
they're actually
prosper.
playing with confidence.
It's time
Disrespect AL like that.
for the scouts to rise up.
Position are very quick to collapse.
And they have the tools to do so as well. Sonic Wave into Dragon's Rage kick, you've got the Tibbers, got the Magnet Storm as well. If you are on your lonesome, or even if there's only a couple of you and you don't have the Braum there to protect you, and you don't have a Mega Gnar who can disengage the fight for you,
It could be, but like was BLG also a good vibe fit? I mean, they obviously did really well with him and removed him, so maybe not. Not removed him, but I'm assuming he wouldn't say no to a BLG offer. So didn't offer him another thing after he gave him a lot of success. Oh, Gwen damage, by the way. In that little funnel.
Across the wall, lands a mystic shot, but doesn't hit with the essence flux. True shot barrage not available to him. Tibbers here to tank the Otacon a little bit. Will chase off Doggo. AL, they're doing it safely. Junja can still look for the steal, doesn't have the flash, but has the smite. Can step forward here. Hallowed miss out from the Gwen as they look for the Otacon. Junja's in there and he steals it.
Oh.
Better storm comes out, but Doggo finds one fight.
The steal and Doggo just... Okay, well, we have to see that. I didn't slow it down because I thought like it was done.
Across the wall, lands a mystic shot, but doesn't hit with the essence flux. True shot
Is Doggo doing lethal tempo as well, yeah? So Tibbers is there tanking. It starts blocking Qs. He keeps his passive up.
They're doing it safely. Junja can still look for the steal.
He's got red buff.
Flash, but has the smite. Can step forward here. Hallowed miss
He keeps
out
just
from the Gwen as they
pushing them into that side, and it just starts to do so much damage. Really nice smite. And the AoE starts hitting people. The ult hits as well. He gets all of them. Oof. I mean, Ezreal in that exact kind of composite situation is insane. In other situations, less so. And also, this is the strongest Ezreal will be, right? 2 items. These 2 items is ridiculously strong. But he plays it insanely well, and he has red buff. He keeps his passive up. Hope just with the pillar as well.
With the crowd behind him, Doggo absolutely popping off. It's been an MSI to remember for him after his time, a miserable time in the LPL. Now showing up for the LCP. Dragon's Rage kick back onto Rest here. Doesn't have the flash. Has no chance of surviving. AL once again will punish. Bit of over-eagerness from the CFO top laner. CFO need to be way more careful. They keep getting caught. They have a good gold lead right now, but these mistakes can quickly cost you so much. We've seen how ruthless AL can be.
I think, Jack, you can apply that to anyone, can't you? If the players are good when he joins, and you just say the players are good, then you can apply that to everyone. Like I say, I think when he's on those teams, they all play like Tave teams. They all play the same. That's where I think you can say it's more to do with the coach. But also you can say took a team from 6th place highest to the champions. Got Tarzan his first ever championship. That's quite a good indicator. Again, Coma's have much less success outside of T1 than Tave has, having moved around a bit. Or you say like, okay, Dylan's not a good coach because he just wins when he's with G2 and they're the best team. It's like, yeah, sure, but he also could be the best coach as well. And like when that's just how sport works, unfortunately. Like I think the best version of this is like someone at one point asked Pep Guardiola, like, why are you the best coach in football? And his instant reply was, I have the best players. I think that's a really good way to approach it. Why are you the best coach? Well, I have the best players. So, done. Doesn't mean you actually do nothing, but it means you just have to be a bit specific around it. But I think if you have anyone other than like I mean, maybe you could have like score and stuff. He seems to have has a very good impact on teams when he joins them. But if you're thinking about greatest coach of all time or like best coach in the world, Tave is probably the one to make the easiest. Oh my god! Oh my god! Doggo didn't invest anything into that. It was purely the ultimate. A straight up solo bolo. Doggo with the assassination onto Hope. And AL maybe losing all hope in this game as the Baron now started off by CFO. The question is, are some of these CFO players going to get like offers from bigger regions? Like, is the LPL team's going to try and pick up Doggo? Or are they like not? I mean, that's obviously the politics of it might mean that it's impossible. If your performance is tied to the team quality, can you really say you're a good coach then? I mean, how can your performance as a coach not be tied to your team quality? They're the ones playing the game. If it's entirely your team's thing, then sure. But how can it be not? How you can't play? So like, how can it not be to do with your players? Again, I think like so. I would say one of the best coaches in the world in history is Dave Brailsford, who's not actually a coach, by the way, but one of the people who's had the best positive impact on teams that he's joined, like the British cycling team and Sky and stuff like that. And again, I think one of his speeches, he literally walks out on stage and the first thing he says is, "I've never won a bike race." Again, that's just a better attitude to have, rather than to be like, he's literally going around the world giving interviews because he's like a sporting guru and gets the best performance out of everybody, and he's changed the way a lot of people think about performance, even if they don't know he exists. People have heard of marginal gains and stuff like that, and rather than let that all go to your head, the best idea is to think like, okay, look, I've never won a race, I've never won the Tour de France, I've never won a medal, I've helped other people and I've got the best out of them, and they have been the ones to do it. And it's the same in League. Like, actually, I'm not sure. I was about to say I've never won a competitive game of League, but I might have actually subbed in and won a game at one point. But you might as well say that. I've never won a game of competitive League. Like, that's a better way to think about it. So your performance, of course, the performance of the team is on the coach too, but it's also the players, and the team with the best players almost always is the team that wins. And if you actually could plot how good teams are versus how well they do, I mean, they did this in the NBA, I think. I don't know how good the system was. I don't know enough about the NBA to know. But basically every team does as well as you would expect it to do if you just looked at the players and looked at nothing else. Pretty much every year, all the time. Over like, they looked at a 20-year period or something like that. And basically every team performed as well as you'd expect them to perform if you just knew their players. So it's just the reality of the world. And if you think you can come in and take like bad players and instantly make them insane or something like that, even if you do, by the way, people will say, well, the players are just good. They're just good now. So AL were not good and now they've won the league, and you're saying the players are just good now. So that's tough. That's tough. Tough crowd for Tave. You might disagree with what he thinks about coaching, but like, I think to take away his achievements because you think you're just saying his players are good, I think that's really harsh. Oh, Ginger. He goes way too far forward. They got the Baron and they got the Soul still, so they're going to just still push in, but way too far forward from Ginger. Well, way too far forward. Too far forward from Ginger.
How do you extricate yourself from a situation like this? 5,000 gold behind, you don't have a Skarner to hit a 3-9 Impale. It has to be something pretty darn special here from anyone's legend.
I feel like CFO, the lead they have, they don't need to slow this game down. On the one hand, you could argue they can just wait for Baron, but I really don't think they need to. They don't have to allow AL to have more time to maybe complete that extra item. Instead, they should just get back out onto the map. Leverage the fact that Doggo is doing so
5k, I think, like more range, easier competition. I mean, we saw Xayah on mid lane with the Ezreal, right? Like, that's the problem. Is that Xayah, just if she's just getting shit thrown at her from outside of her own range, it's not anywhere near as good as if you're all running at her.
Splitting between these two lanes, rest is going down towards that bottom side. Baron buff obviously has expired, so they don't have those enhanced minions to help them with the push. Pillar down onto Shanks, who does have flash, but doesn't need to use the tippers to dissuade CFO from advancing any further. Shanks just did no damage.
It always will be tied to your player's performance, but if you can't separate your impact from the players, then you can't say you've been positive. Yeah, I'm not saying he can't separate his impact. I'm saying it's hard for us to separate his impact from the outside. That's what I'm saying. And I think it's possible to separate his impact. And aren't you the one saying that it's not possible and that his players are just good? So isn't that my point that you're saying? Okay, let's see. Is this their last shot at something? Trying to TP behind. Honky push forward with no flash. I think that's their go moment, but he's so tanky with Soul and the ball. So they chunk and they get the TP return. But Doggo instantly gets the Brawl Mult on him just in case there was more follow-up, and they just have too much. I mean, obviously they played it really well, but I really didn't like this. Like, I think if you have, like, obviously Kaiser's gone, but you have something like Kaiser, then I think this whole thing works better. But Xayah in this game, I don't think is where it's at. Okay, so Sion permabanned, Varus permabanned, Vi and Pantheon both permabanned. Found a place where they wholesale meat cylinders. 1.5k for the cylinder, another 3k for an industry kebab machine.
Do you remember
when Rest played Ornn last at MSI? It was awful.
So you getting a full one that, like, you could set up your own restaurant, but instead you're just going to cook stuff for yourself. Okay. Okay, but they take away the Aurora now that all the other mids are gone, because I think giving Shanks Aurora when you've already given Jace is not given Jace, obviously. Jace hasn't been like banned. Jace is much stronger in later Fearless when a bunch of stuff is gone. No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to do. I'm just curious. You're going to set yourself up an industrial scale kebab machine and then do it for just yourself rather than buy an individual one. Was that individual one? Did it not look good?
Can do some serious work. Of course, the matchup is rough early on, but a couple good ganks can very much change the
Okay, Jinx. Is it going to be Jinx Thresh?
Now Tom Kench. Oh, no, they're just going for the layer. All right.
Tom, Thresh, anything else that works for support? The other thing about this is that the last good option into Jace is already the Ornn. So they're going to have a support who likely can have a good Silas ult. They're going to have Aurora, which is a nice Silas ult, and they're also going to have...
Silas as well. I don't like it. I'm sure he feels confident in this matchup, which is fine, but picking it into the Cassante...
Oh, okay. Ornn being the best matchup into the Jace. Cassante is better, I think, to deny the Silas ult, but it just is a bit annoying.
It doesn't give Silas another good ultimate.
But the thing is about the wholesale one is that, like, will it do portions that are sensible for one person or, like, a family? Because even that one that I showed you in the clip looks like you'd have, if you're one person, you're, like, meal prepping the whole week doing one. Whereas if it's, like, twice that size...
Especially AL is thinking about Jinx Lulu. Because range support's now, they're very high on the priority list, right? So Draven going to be taken away from Doggo.
Okay.
Feliows should be considered. I mean, I forget what season it was, but Jinx Feliows was the meta for God knows how long. Yeah, something like that.
So I think you might want to ban Thresh, although maybe with the counterpick support it's too hard. Okay. Fair enough. I think you take AD on 4, and then you drop the jungle. Unless there's anything like really crazy that you want to take. Oh, there you go. Deny the Thresh.
So the reason Blue Tank is great into Thresh is Thresh's hook CCs himself. So if he throws out a hook, you can just hook him at once and you pull him in.
That's what I was worried about. This is why I preferred the Feliows first pick, because then you could have responded if a hook champion comes out on the other side. But yeah, alright.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I mean
it does everything to do. Gives you zone control, allows you to control the neutral objectives really well, and is
Okay.
which is really what AR looking for.
Maokai going to be instead, but not Maokai like the EU Maokai with just a mega poke comp.
The hook. Ash currently the Hob CFO. Long range pick potential really good with the Jarvan with the Thresh.
Is it going to be Cog?
it's scary versus Maokai.
Against 4 melees?
If he doesn't use the Corgi skin would disappoint me, I'll be honest.
I think of Sivir or Feliows. Yeah, there you go.
So I prefer this one to Blitz.
Or with Feliows. You can block the Blitz as well. You can block the Maokai ult too.
You can spell shield zap, you can spell shield
Because you Maokai ult someone and then you Blitz hook them. That's like the classic.
shot blast. So
You can actually spell shield every ability in the game.
okay, thank you. I was highlighting the important abilities that are worth spell shielding, okay? So CFO,
I love it. I main Thresh. I thought you main Teemo. Do you have a Thresh spreadsheet? Because otherwise you can't say you main Thresh compared. It's impossible. Okay. Let's get into the game and then we'll get into the Tabe thing and then we'll... I'm only here to meet Gage.
Silas will take a little bit to ramp up, especially if they go for the Road of Ages build we've been seeing a lot recently.
For the Maokai sort of having to dodge the flag and drag with a twisted advance or dodge away from some of that early CC. If we get into
You can't have multiple mains.
CFO, in a series that a lot of people predicted would end in a quick 3-0.
Oh, you have multiple sheets.
But they are not here to be a punching bag. So consistently through this MSI, they have surprised expectations, and even though they continue to be the underdog, Doggo has shown just how much an underdog can do.
So at first hand, when they competed and they started winning a bunch of the group stages, the conversation was, well, a bunch of the other teams are jet lagged, people underperforming, right? Like there was what I would define as excuses, right? It was very much a other team doing bad rather than necessarily CFO doing good.
Multiple sheets.
Right? And in 10 best of 5, very close to securing a spot in the finals of first stand, which would have been absolutely massive, but they fall short. Then they come to MSI. People are now talking about it a little bit more, right? A little bit more optimistic. Of course, you have to be careful because dominating the LCP doesn't always translate to the international stage. So even though they did have a very good spring, does that necessarily mean you're going to perform well in MSI? Let me tell you, they have done. Pushing T1 to the full 5 games, knocking out Koi, and now here against AL, they were so close to being 2-1 up in this series. They're a team that has showcased an insane level of potential. The skill ceiling on their individual members is incredible. And again, while we do see some mistakes at times, by and large, they are very consistent, and they are a good team. We'll see if they can bring us to a 5 game against AL, the number 1 seed from the LPL. A tournament favorite, mind you.
Okay. I mean, this matchup early on is going to be a nightmare, isn't it? I also think if you're playing against Rest, couldn't you have gone for first pick Aurora and then you take the Jace? Do you think the EU teams will ever be able to play this quickly compared to Eastern teams? I don't see why we couldn't, but I know what you mean. It's been a long time that we can't, so... I think the EU state has been bad for a long time, and we've convinced ourselves it's not because we had one good G2 roster, and now we don't have one good G2 roster. And I think the way that most teams are run and most League of Legends departments are run is really horrible. I'm not just talking about off-season decisions, I'm talking about the whole thing. And I think that it's a role that I've wanted to do for ages. I've wanted to do this, like, I've wanted to run a performance department since, like, 2017, so I run a League of Legends department. And the people who are running it back then are still the people who are running it now. And back then, we were good compared to everyone else. And then we're getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse compared to every other region. And still the same people are running the departments and still the same people are making the decisions. And in most cases, still in the same way. Last year, I going to do a tweet about this later as well. But last year I did a tweet saying like, can anyone show me a situation where anyone running a department has been moved on for performance reasons? I've known a couple where the person has quit because they don't want to do it anymore and they want to like move back home or something. Literally like one or two. I know one because of performance reasons, and that's it. Since 2017, I think there's one change in this role, which I think is mega crucial, and I think it's the role that we're the worst at in EU by miles. And there's been one change in 5, 6, 7, 8 years. 10 plus teams, like 15 teams, I guess, with some change. 8 years, one change. Most of these people have been doing this role for like 8 years. And it's wild. You've been doing this role, and the thing that you're supposed to be responsible for, we've been getting worse at and worse at, even in the orgs where they've been getting worse compared to other EU orgs, let alone compared to everyone else. It's wild, man. So there's no reason for EU teams not to be able to play when Dragon's not up. But I mean, we're going through that at the moment. No. I don't think they're like. I don't think it's like. Well, I mean, yes. I was going to say I don't think it's like malicious. I think pay shape feelers and stuff is not actually too strong in some cases. I mean, Dardo's not a coach. Like, I really like Caveat. I think I've had some really good conversations with him. He's not someone who, like, he wants to be more focused on the business side of things. But most orgs don't even realize that there should be someone behind the coaches who is focused on performance. So it's just a non-starter. Most of the people who are like running performance departments do business stuff most of the time. I don't know what that means, so don't ask me to explain what business stuff means in this context. But they do business stuff most of the time, and then in off-season they're the ones deciding players and coaches. Like, huh? Like, again, I'm very biased because he's one of my favorite coaches, but there needs to be people like Brailsford in esports, in League of Legends, in European esports. Because in Korea, for example, head coaches do that. There's a lot of head coaches who don't know much about the game. And it doesn't matter. How scrims going? I think scrims have been going great. It's super fun to play with these guys, and they're fucking insanely good. And we've been very clear about like what we want from the team culture, and we're actually doing that already. So, for example, we're talking about being open to new ideas, and we had a meeting yesterday and came up with a new idea that I still don't think I still think it might be stupid, but we tried it already once, and we're going to try it more, which is swapping from level 1, and I think it's maybe mega shit, but I love the fact that all the players want to do it, and it might also not be. Yeah, so it was Sion, Leon, and bot lane for a while in one of our games. And so I love that. So we're having fun, but we're also they're also insanely good. I mean, Fnatic are still like... this is the strange thing about Fnatic is that sometimes they've got like no money, but also I think they spend the most, right? Or like second most. G2 spend the most. Fnatic spend it when it was leaked, right? Like, let me look. Sheep Esports, team, budget, roster. What if I just type that? LEC. Okay. So here is their spending in winter. And the fact that this is public, by the way, I think is amazing. So G2 spend the most and they won. But that does mean, by the way, that this G2 year is a mega failure. To not be winning and to be spending the most. KC is probably almost certainly the best value team, right? That's because they've got Vladdy and they've got Klist, who are probably on smaller contracts considering how good they are. So for now, they're spending very little and doing incredibly well. And even if they keep the same players in a couple of years, they'll have to be spending up here to have the same roster. Just because the next contract for Kalist or the next contract for Vladdy is going to be really hard. BDS not doing super well. Rogue doing mega badly, being a middle tier team for spending and an absolute bottom tier team. Heretics doing really well, being the bottom tier team for spending. Maybe the bottom tier by quite a way, to be quite honest. So Navi's roster now makes a little bit more sense. Some of the Rogue players were clearly on contracts that were not easily dismissed. Vitality middle and roughly middle. Giant X near the bottom and kind of not looking great, but still fine. Obviously, this doesn't take into account its active roster, and it's also just roster. But still, having this is good. So, yeah. There aren't good frameworks to judge performance. I would say that's one of the jobs of the people who do this role, is to work out how are we going to judge performance? How are we going to make decisions? So but also hold those decisions accountable. So again, if you take well, use G2 as an example, whatever information they had to make them make those roster decisions, let's actually examine it properly. But if people consistently make poor decisions, not that G2 have done this, G2 have been absolutely the best at this. I think Romain, for example, is the closest to what I think the role should be and also the best at it, but that's a separate point. To justify those decisions. Anytime there's consistent changes, it should be considered a failure, because it's okay, either it was a failure to do the change or it was a failure to get the person in the first place. I don't know what the hell happened with this humanoid situation at Fnatic, but the fact that he's on their bench getting paid loads and they're employing another player when they're supposedly an org that's very low money seems weird to me. The fact that after a 3-year contract, they're not selling him anywhere else because they're doing it in summer, but they're clearly going to replace him, I think is mega wild. So those kind of decisions, I think, data or not, you can internally, people should have to answer difficult questions. What was the information that led us to do this? Hire Yamato as a coach and then fire Yamato as a coach after 9 games. Something has gone wrong there, but again, actually, I would say KC are the best at this. So I think, for example, KC and Koi have been really good at this, and they're seeing the results of this now. And other teams don't have this, which is why they've just been floundering around, and why XL or Giant X, I think, have just basically been stuck and never made any impact in the league whatsoever. But so many orgs now, because coaches, I would say a big problem as well is that coaches, maybe I'll make a big video about this, because I think another big problem is that coaches want there to be someone who's in charge of the longer term and thinking about the longer term, and also is there to develop the coaches and make sure that everything pulls in the same direction and goes across all the different departments and all that kind of thing. But because that's never been the case, and mostly the people who have been the one above the coaches, it's just better. The less they're involved, the better. So now the coaches sort of want to do it themselves. And so now the orgs think the coaches want to do this thing. And so I've had an argument with someone on Twitter who was working at Giant X Academy, and he had a 1-year contract and was acting like he was the one who is in charge of the direction of the academy team. And that's the part that I couldn't understand. And he didn't understand. I didn't understand why he thought I was talking about him when I was talking about the direction of the academy team. Because you employ a coach for 1 year, I don't care what you tell them, their job is to do as best as possible in summer so that they can go to another team and get a better job. So that kind of thing is just not considered, and that's why we're in such a mess. Top down, don't even get me started on Solari. Top down, it's just a role that we're really, really bad at in the West, and it honestly doesn't exist in at least 6 or 7 out of the top 10 teams. Someone who knows about performance, who's not there on a contract basis, split to split, has to worry about their job. Because mostly the people in that role are looking at the business side of things. So convince Ira to play Teemo support. So Ira is not our support player. Our support player is Treats, and he might actually play Teemo support, so I'm not going to suggest it.
But the reflexes on it. And okay, I love how proactive both these supports being on the map, busting, looking for hooks, seeing if they can convert it into a pick. Hope that's
Okay.
towards the top lane. Doggo beats
CFO with the lead and the dragon.
Doggo in a great
Obviously
position.
just a slight lead.
Attention continues to matter. Gold lead
2
comes in,
grubbies. I've been completely out of this game because we've been talking about the other thing.
Make sure the AL can't allocate the gold where they want to, because I think Doggo into Hope will be fine. I think they have a whale of time that match, just ricochet, push him out, you know, make sure that he's not
Yeah.
but they keep matching Doggo into Flandre.
Do it, do it.
Trying to force him into disadvantageous situations. You can see here, Hope was just top lane. He's now opening up to bot. Flandre is the one who's going to teleport to the top when Rest had to run to top to match Hope.
Well, the idea is good, but Flandre sitting still very pretty right now.
Yeah, he's still
At the
very
very least, alleviated some pressure off of Rest, working towards that Frozen Gauntlet. But Doggo, he is very safe. As the Lantern's taking away the safety.
It's a lot of damage on Kyle as well. He only has the Swicky Boost and Kindle Jet right now.
I just want to say, 80 carries like this, often games just become about them.
Yeah.
Like, even if CFO is winning, it takes a single kill on Jinx to completely turn a fight around.
Especially with the resets.
And the same thing for Zivit. If you just leave her alone for like 5 seconds, maybe less, 3, and those ricochets start bouncing, they melt through a team fight. And that's like, the main reason why I love Fearless is because we do see so many different types of compositions that come through, but especially as we get later in these 80 carries, become a much bigger piece. Right now it's hard not to turn your eyes towards Doggo, who just has been a standout. That's not like Hope is in a bad series by any means. He started off the series with a fantastic performance himself, but Doggo in that last game, the quadra kill was just crazy from him.
Ezreal performance absolutely crazy. He's got 2 wins on his
I'm going to look at the Tabby interview after this. That's what started this conversation. So what started this discussion, or rant, or TED Talk about the fact that we have no one who runs performance department, League of Legends departments properly. Someone needs to know about performance and the media side of things and operational side of things.
Gold injection for Hope, and the combo was clean. The traps come down, and as you identified, Medic, the spell shield was on the knock-up of Kyle. So when he takes the Lance into safety, he actually gets dragged through the traps and locked up. The flash follow-through comes from Tarzan. Big damage on the Shanks.
Steals away the ultimate here, looking for the Shanks with the Cataclysm, and now Kyle's underneath that tower. Shanks tanking it as well, he'll fall. It's Super so far, CFO trying to continue to turn this fight around. The dive disastrous. Hope almost falls, but he has the barrier just in time to survive through Honkyu's burst.
Junja makes a massive play for CFO there. AL think for themselves, oh, this is an isolated Honku.
They get the dragon.
But without any hesitation, Junja ults into the play. We'll start with this pick on mid lane. Doggo, thinking he can get a great trade onto Hope. Gets locked at hit. The spell shield's to knock up, but then gets dragged through the traps.
Almost all performance coaches now, this wasn't the case a few years ago, but what performance coach means in League of Legends now is someone who doesn't do stuff about the game. Someone who does, like, you need to sleep well, you need to eat well, and like sports psychologist, that kind of thing. And I think that's a very important role, but I think there's way more basic stuff that we don't do properly before that role is going to have a massive impact. So the fact that like people are not seeing the game in the same way or playing well, like the fact that the culture is so messed up is not going to be fixed by someone who's coming in as a performance coach, because you need that to be the person in charge, to be honest, to set those kind of things and to set those kind of standards and to hold people accountable to making sure that their processes are actually good and thought through, and we know why we're doing what we're doing, and so when it goes right or wrong, we can learn from it properly. So I think, yeah, most performance coaches now are people who are outside of the game, and they're sort of there to just help out. And I think sometimes it's great, but a lot of the stuff that I saw in or people showed me from like Grabs' press conferences, I would be unbelievably shocked if you bring in a sports psychologist and you fix those problems. I think it's much more systemic than that. I mean, I hope for Fnatic's sake that I'm wrong, but I think it's far more systemic. So now that's kind of what it means. But it doesn't mean that it means different things in different sports, right? So the role that I'm talking about is like team principal in cycling and probably team principal in F1, although I only know about F1 from the Drive to Survive. So probably team principal in both. Or head of performance in like Olympics type sports. It's normally the head of performance or the head of cycling or the head of rowing or the head of whatever. It again depends on the country. They call it slightly different things. Or it can be a general manager, sort of, but I think it should be more than that. It's like general manager, what we call in League of Legends general manager, plus what we call in League of Legends head of performance, plus what we call in League of Legends something to do with... Actually, maybe it's just a combination of those two things in League of Legends terms. Plus like coach of coaches. Head of coaching. Which like Peter Dunn was called before, for example. But we also never have tried anything that's any different because there's no one in a position that could try anything any different. If you're a head coach and you want to try something different, firstly, you're probably not going to be able to make it happen. And secondly, you're going to just be replaced very quickly for something new because you can't try something different and it's good in a year, you know? I think it's loser bracket next, but I'm not sure. I can look. Okay. Because I know the result of this, I'm sure there might be interesting things from this game, but I'm gonna take my flip that there's not. We'll look at this interview. So what if I just look up? Well, I'll first do the MSI schedule, and then we'll do the interview. Tomorrow is Fly BLG, and Thursday is T1 Genji. Is that actually his channel? It's 14 minutes long? That's the whole thing? It's not a longer one than that? Okay, good. I was just making sure that it wasn't like someone just taking clips from casual streams because I want to use his actual channel. Right, so. Okay, so I'm going to react to this video with Cajal and Tabe. I haven't seen it before. I've seen people talking about it, but I'll just be like stopping, pausing, and listening as we go. So
we got the chat here. They're all going to say hello. Everyone says, we've got this emote in Europe. It's in English, it's called Ta. So everyone calls you Ta-Be.
So, hello. Where is the camera?
The camera's here. You see it?
Hello, guys.
Say hello. There's a 30-second delay, but they'll all catch up in a second.
Okay, sure.
How are you feeling? Was it a stressful game after game 3? A bit stressful?
Game 3, to be honest, our draft, I think the draft is way better because we have a lot of initiate.
Annie, Rel,
and Lee Sin. But at that time, maybe our communication was wrong.
Okay, like this is an interesting thing as well. Like some of the LPL teams, they like mega highly value the initiate, like that kind of thing, or like CC score, right? Like that's what supposedly FPX did when their successful World Run. They were just literally picking like highest CC score, basically.
We must contest that dragon, but the fact is, Annie, Lee Sin, but at that time, maybe our communication was wrong. We must contest that dragon, but the fact is, Annie was forced to go to top, and without flash, so we should just farm. We don't need to contest the Drake.
So you need to pick your window.
This is the thing that we were talking about. We've been looking at, right? It's not a window
To fight better.
Yeah. So after game 3, I talked a lot about the decision making, and it was glad that my players know that what I feel, and we changed it.
How much do you value Braum? Because Braum prevents a lot of engage. Rel, Alistar, Nautilus can stop a lot. And Ezreal, Braum, Trundle as a core can like kite a bit. But when you play Annie, Rel, Lee Sin, do you care or just go?
I think Braum is a really good champion when with enemy has some serious engage. For example, they have Nocturne, Ambassa. But I think that Ezreal and Braum, the lane is not strong. It is a defensive lane. We have Rail and Saya, right?
Yeah.
And we have a really good lane. So how do I say? I think maybe it is good, but it is better if we have something like Orin.
Yeah. I see. I guess in this meta, you value engage a lot.
Didn't quite understand
Engage, fight, because dragon fights is everything, right? I feel like this series, you and CFO were dancing around Atakan, dancing around dragon. Everything right now for you in the meta is just dragons, right?
Because when we are
See, this is the interesting thing, is that the same is true in LEC, but we actually do nothing in between dragons. And when it's a good window for AL to fight, they're fighting. It doesn't matter if there's an objective up or not. And so they might, in that fight, just take some summoners, which means on the objective, you now don't have the summoners. Whereas I think one of the problems we have in the LEC is we just wait in between.
During the game, CFO and T1, all of our team will sit together and watch the game.
Yeah.
And we really think that they really did a good job in punishing the T1's top lane, bot lane. So we already knew that they will focus a lot in the Drakes. So
this is really interesting as well. I love the idea of like watching the enemy team together. It's not something we've had that much opportunity to do, obviously, because so much of the like streaming and online, all that kind of thing. But finding like the way that the enemy team wants to play, we talk with our scout about find the soul of the team, like the one thing, to not complicate it. Not here's 100 things they do. Here's how they set up dragons. Here's how they set up heralds. It's like here's how they want to play.
This game, also AL, I think
you like the fights?
Everyone in the world now knows that we like to team fight, and our coordination is really good, right? So, but I think that today CFO is the team who is under pressure. We are the one who is giving the pressure. So I would tell my team that don't care about the performance when they are facing T1. We are a really good team too, because we nearly won the game against Genji. So they should afraid us, not us. Not
afraid
we
of them,
afraid of them.
No pressure. I wanted to ask a little bit about like.
That's the other important thing as well to consider as a coach is like what is the pressure situation that's happening without you. So weirdly, like I love what he's saying there, what Tabe's saying there. Like he's trying to take pressure off his players basically, because also actually this situation is more pressured for AL, because if CFO lose, it's like, well, they expect it to lose. If you played a good game and you lose, it's like, great job. Whereas if AL lose, they'll probably get some hate for even losing one game, you know? So there's much more at stake for them to lose. So as a coach, it's important to think about it. And I remember this Eddie Jones quote where he said, most of my job is just adding or taking away pressure. And you got to know when to do which one and think about what's happening naturally.
How you work as a team when it comes to like how much time you invest in draft, for example. Like when you guys are preparing for CFO, how much time do you think you spend sitting with your team, asking about draft, sitting about draft meeting, like?
I think he's asking this because of the T1 thing that he talks about with Reckless, right? It'd be really interesting to hear the difference.
Do you like yesterday night, do you just sit for a few hours and talk? Or
so
do you already
T1
prepare
apparently do
many
hours
days
and
in
hours and
advance?
hours and hours on drafts.
I remember I talked about this with when I talk with I would dominate. To be honest, I never have 怎么说呢? I never sit together and talk about draft with my players.
Really?
Yeah, why? Because I emphasize a lot on scrims. I would just tell them what we play tomorrow is what we play in scrims. And a very important factor is maybe game one. I like to talk about a bit, but not more than 50 minutes. And because of the fearless draft, we have to conquer a lot of difficult situations. You can never know your enemy team's first free bans and free picks in the fearless draft. And for myself, I am also a person that I am not that have patient. Yeah, because if you talk a lot of draft, you need a lot of patience. And you know what? If I think a lot of draft, the result will be Tabe and Tabe versus.
Yeah, you'll over.
I really like this. I personally, like for myself, I think I'm not good enough at draft to do this. If I was in a situation where I was like running a League of Legends thing, I would want a draft coach and I want them to be good enough to do this. Because it's not something you can do easily, because a lot of times actually draft meetings are more about we're going to talk until the players are comfortable. We're going to talk until I'm comfortable. It's more we're going to talk until they are, because that's what they're used to, all those kind of things. But when you've been with the team for a longer period of time, he hasn't been with AL for ages, but still, when you're in those situations that are a bit more about longer term, if you, as a player, you just had full faith in your coach, if you can find that situation and then the coach can just do it, then I think that's the best. But the question is like, how do you get there in practice? But I love it as an idea. I love the thing of like, okay, look, I think it's also really cool that T1 just spend loads of time talking about draft when they're at these events. But I also think if you can just know in your head, and as a player, you can just know that my coach has this covered, that's awesome. I think that takes off such a weight off the players. But it's very hard to get to that level. And like I say, a lot of draft meetings that I've done in the past with certain players, I knew that we would have to do a draft meeting with this player because it's not about me knowing, it's about him knowing. And I might come in with a specific idea, I explain the idea, then we talk for 2 hours or an hour and a half. And then by that point, we come back to the same idea. But it's worth it because now they went in not sure and not comfortable, and I didn't have that relationship with them where they could just be like, okay, I know John's got it. And I don't think I'd ever want to put myself in that situation because I don't think I'm like the world's best drafter. But if you could have that situation, it just takes so much off them, which is really, really cool.
Yeah,
everything.
overcall everything.
Yeah.
So I don't like to give my team
And also I do think I agree that in Fearless there's less advantage to it because you could do loads of prep and then like there's 5 different scenarios you prepped, and then in every game it's okay, this time we're doing this scenario, this time we're doing this scenario, this time we're doing this scenario. Whereas in Fearless, after game 1, you would have to do it all over again.
myself a lot of pressure. I'll just tell them, yeah, just go to play, and I will
Do the draft.
outplay the draft. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
when it
that's
comes
so
to like
cool.
champion
If
priors,
you have that respect,
do you
that's
have
awesome.
strong opinions yourself? I want you to play this. I want you to play this. I want to play this. Or does your player come to you and say, I want to play this? Like, how is that dynamic, or is it mixed, do you think?
I
Great
think
question.
Your question is really good because there is a lot of conflict between me and my players.
Yeah.
But although we are a new team, right? In the first sector, the first stage
yeah.
in the 2025, maybe we have a lot of communication problems about draft. But till now, even when we're playing against Genji, we still have a very strong bond. So maybe sometimes players will trust on me, and sometimes in a critical moment, I will trust on players. But the most important thing is every game, whenever we win or lose, we will calm down and we'll talk. Oh, maybe pick blah 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 will
I
be
see.
better.
So if you say, I want
Okay, so they still, after every game, they still talk about the draft. And I think that's good as well because that gives you an avenue as players to have that input that you would have in a big discussion, right? And now instead of having it in a big discussion, you don't have to worry about it while the game's going on. But after the game, you can still get your input in. So that's really important. That's a key, like make sure that avenue is still available to have that input coming back to you as a coach and an avenue for the input for the player to like be expressed.
you to play this and you lose, maybe the player is a bit like, I want to play this instead. And you talk, calm down, and then the same thing happens. Like,
yeah, even we win.
yeah, even if you win.
Yeah.
Or like he says, I want to play this, and you say, okay, play it, and he loses, then you like talk about it.
The most important thing about the bonding of draft between you and your players is the result.
Yeah.
If you win,
It's good.
it's happy, right?
Yeah, happy.
So if you lose, you have to understand that your draft is bad. So maybe game 3, my draft is bad. Yeah.
And let's say,
Okay, obviously, I think that's also part of the communication issue. I don't think he's necessarily meaning every game we lose, the draft is bad, and every game we win. The point is like he has to understand the bad things about your draft when you lose, and that's something that I think is really interesting. And I think we talk a lot about like the difference between like coaching theory and coaching in practice. And because he's a pro player, he's definitely massively valuing this thing of like, look, when you lose a game as a pro, you see all the problems with your draft. Those problems are there if you win, but you don't see them as much. And so as a coach, it is important to address them, which is an interesting perspective as well.
let's say I think Lee Sin is OP, and we play Lee Sin and we lose, but we discuss it, and then we play it again and we lose. Have you ever been in that situation where like you really think something's strong, but you can't get it across? There's no results to show it?
My opinion is you have to tell your players about whether we win, whether we lost the game is because of the draft or because of the gaming. So what happened in the
play,
game?
yeah.
For example, game 3, I think my draft is bad, but I will tell them, although the draft is bad, but our decision making may be worse. Yeah,
I
so
see.
you have to.
So like we're playing Lee Sin, Rel, and Annie.
I mean, this is like the same that a lot of coaches do, but it's really interesting to hear it from like his perspective and in his own words. And I love that. Like, okay, maybe the draft is bad, but the decision making is
You know,
worse.
maybe our draft is weaker or whatever it is. But if you don't take the right fights, we can't win anyway.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
see what you're saying. What's your guys' like schedule like?
What
let's
do you
say
mean by
like
schedule?
Oh,
not,
that's
not, in, not
interesting.
in this tournament, but in LPL, you play like quite often. You know, LPL schedule is quite crazy. In Europe, we do like maybe 1 or 2 blocks a day of scrims. In China, how many blocks of scrims do you think? Or like how many scrim games a day?
We are a team that we are very hardworking.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 blocks is impossible. Like for me, like 3 blocks is common sense. 2 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. And so maybe our resting time is about 12 to 1 o'clock midnight.
I
Okay.
see.
Yeah, and after
So-
that we will play rank till 3 to 4.
Okay, so you wake up, eat breakfast at like maybe 12 or
We never eat breakfast.
never eat
Becau-
breakfast?
Because we wake up at 1:30. We have
So you
lunch.
wake up 30 minutes before scrims,
Yes.
then you scrim 5 games,
Uh,
4 games,
after the fearless draft, 5 games.
and then
yeah.
small break.
Until 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
And 5 to 7 o'clock we have dinner.
Ah,
Yeah,
I
and
see. Yeah.
I will give my team have a 1.5 hour to sleep.
Okay, so if I'm getting this right, they wake up at 1:30, then they eat and go straight into games. Then they do 5 games. Then they have 2 hours break, 1.5 hours of which he's saying they can sleep if they want. Then they do.
Yeah.
Are they doing another block of 5? And they might not do another block of 5, and then they do another. Then they do another break, and then another block, and then a slight break, and then solo queue. That is intense. One thing that's always worth having as a caveat here is that from people who've done it and then come to EU, and like people that we've been able to talk to who aren't just doing it in an interview, a block of scrims is not a block of scrims. So they often, from like the later scrims, they often are just like playing all together, no reviews, just playing as 5. Or team fight practice, they call it, where they just mega perma fight and they just do stuff and then just redo new game, new game. So it's not necessarily that the way we see scrims is like they just do 3 blocks of that, because also we can't do 5 games in between like 1 and 5. That's not enough time for us, not even close. So they must be doing something different, or they just have really short games because they become mega stomps. But still, huge amount of 2 to 5 is scrims, 7 to 10 is scrims, 10 to 12 is scrims, 12 to 4 is solo queue. Okay, so it's a huge amount of games. Obviously, we knew
So, like,
this.
rest,
This is how
nap,
they want to do
eat,
it.
whatever it is, and then
Yes.
go again. And my last question to you would be, you've done scrims, you're finished your game, you're in review. What's your biggest discussion, you think? Let's say you have 20-minute review, 30-minute
That's a great
review.
question.
What are you talking about the most? Are you looking at team fights? Are you looking at draft? Or are you looking at like macro? Or do you think it's evenly spread? Or is there something that you focus on the most and like the biggest result you want to look at?
I focus on the most is about the decision making.
Decision making.
Yeah, because I think this is the most important part between my team and LCK team. Because in my opinion, I think LCK teams, they have very few mistakes. But if you have mistake against them, they can snowball very, very well. So unless my players, for example, come down and tell to me, oh, the draft is nonsense, I cannot play at all, then I will comfort them. But if they are very calm, I will talk about the gaming decision. So it is a very important factor to be a coach, to look the eyes of the players, to sense their mentality at that point. Because
I love that. Like, it's so important to make sure that you're getting that like kind of direct feedback as a coach. And that's why doing it online instantly makes things harder. So like, I think actually our discussions and reviews and stuff can be very good online, and in person is not all that amazing, but it's that connection that you really lose and you don't build up by doing it all online, which is a shame. And it's also why, if I could, I would always have us have cameras on in reviews, but we use the cameras for streams.
MSI only...
The other thing as well is like decision making. The problem with that is like, I wanted to know more details. I wanted to know like what specific decision making, because you can have decision making in team fights, you can have decision making in the lane phase, you can so you can like that answers all of the questions. So I think it just depends. I think it depends on what they're working on. That's what I'd infer from that.
So few minutes.
Yes, very quick.
Yeah, very quick. You have no enough time to talk a lot. So how do you manage your time with your players is important too.
Do you think you spend more time on like individual decision making or like team decision making? You think?
Only team decision making.
Only team.
Yeah.
So do you have like other coaches around you that like watch a lane or they watch your jungler, or just only team?
Of course, my team, we have 3 coaches total, 1 analyst and 1 my vice coach, and everyone have their own role.
Yeah. So your role is very team focused and like player focused.
Yeah, and we will like machine, you know. If you are the left hand, I am the right hand, and I am the heart.
Wow.
We will coordinate. If I talk about the decision making, my Xiaobai will talk about the draft, and my analyst will talk about next game, blah blah blah, champion, they are good, blah blah blah. Yeah.
cool. It's very cool to have everyone has their own specific role and they're doing different things. And you would be shocked at how often top teams don't have this. Again, my rant about people running these departments properly.
This question, because I know I don't want to keep this too long. When you finish today and you go tomorrow, are you scrimming tomorrow all day?
Yeah, we never rest.
And then next day all day scrims?
Yeah.
And then the next day all day scrims?
All
and
day
then game
scrim.
day?
Yeah, but the thing is, sometimes maybe we'll feel very, very tired and frustrated. Then I will take my team and go down because Vancouver, they are very nice field. Yeah, when
So you'll go for a walk,
go for a walk and
talk about it.
look at the sea,
Yeah.
look at the lovely pets. There are many doggies.
Yeah.
And I will say, okay, now we are human.
And now
yeah,
back to scrim.
yeah, and back to scrim.
Same day?
Today, maybe we...
No, like let's say you're scrimming, everyone's pissed off, it's fucking hard, you know. You go break, do you come back the same day and scrim still?
Yeah,
Keep
but if you go for a walk, you have no break.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
I
because
see,
you already
That's your break.
consume the time.
That's your break.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, you guys are crazy, bro.
But now we will go to have a good dinner.
A good dinner?
Yeah, to celebrate. Yeah.
Man, thank you for the interview. The chat loves it. Everyone's spamming. There's lots of emotes in Twitch. I don't know if you've ever used it, but like this means like you're super cool and like super strong, and that's what they say about you, Giga Chat.
Thank you. But you gave me this opportunity to talk about it. Yeah.
Oh man, it's great. It's really good to get insights.
I mean, it's so awesome, by the way, that we're in a world where this kind of thing can happen. I think it's so cool. I mean, they work mega hard. Like, this is what we knew about Chinese teams and LCK teams. They can absolutely churn through people. And I mean that intentionally. I use those words. So for the people who can cut it, it's great. They have a much bigger player base, obviously. But there is something to it. There has to be something to it. They have a lot of good practice every single day, or a lot of practice, I should say, every single day. I don't know if it's good. I'm just assuming. But I think it's really, really interesting. I also think that, let's say, for example, some of these later blocks are just basically the same as solo queue, except from you do the draft and you play as 5. That's way better than solo queue. Like, just do those as well. I think that can work. But it's mega intense. And, like, no one can have a life during this, obviously. So it's really interesting because people who are really hardworking in normal sports are gated by the fact that you can't practice rugby for 20 hours a day because just physically you can't. So you have to do like a few hours a day, and then you have a few hours of like meetings and stuff, and you end up having the rest of the time. Obviously you have to do sensible things. You can't eat what you want. You can't go out when you want.
A lot of Western
but
fans don't really know what goes on in like Korea and China. We just lose. Actually, can I ask you one more question? Sorry.
Okay, sure.
What is if you look at Europe, what is one advice you could give to Europe if we're losing now? Is there anything we've seen from our games or scrims where you're like, oh my god, this region is so bad at this? Like Europe needs to be saved right now. We're the worst region. What's one piece of advice you have for Europe?
I think it is very unfortunate for G2 and MCOY. They lost the game, right? But I think the most important thing is to dig into why they lost. Some of the time, I think, most of the time, maybe they are not losing about the draft. Maybe it is the gaming decision making. Yeah, and sometimes I think maybe their lanes maybe are not tough enough. If you want to move to a higher level, for example, to win the better level teams, your laning phase and your decision making. For example, you have to be like quicker, like 3 seconds, 5 seconds to the spot.
So like tempo?
Yeah, the tempo.
Yeah.
It is very important. But I hope that if the players in EU, they invest more time on thinking why they will lose, maybe they will improve a lot. Because, for example, my team, we really invest a lot of time. It is tiring, but I think if you invest time, you have hope.
Like work really
hard. You
hard.
have hope. But if you don't, if you're lazy, okay, I just lose, then you have no hope at all. Yeah.
Work harder, work on the lanes, tempo, and decision making.
Like for me, a big thing about the LPL teams is like the decisiveness of their decision making as well, which I think is really important. So I don't know if he's trying to say that there as well when he's talking about this timing thing. Like you make the decision a couple of seconds quicker, and I think that can be a real difference maker. So, I mean, that was a
Like
fantastic
that.
interview.
Bro,
Let's
thank
just
you
watch
so
the
much.
end.
I appreciate
Let's
it.
see if there's
Thank you.
Much
anything
love.
else.
Thanks for coming on the stream. Everyone was spamming hearts a second ago because there's a bit of a delay with all the chat, but everyone was spamming all their hearts. They really appreciate you coming out. Thank you so much. Good luck in the tournament. Think you can make it all the way?
It is very difficult and hard because every stage when we are stepping forward,
Yeah.
our enemy team will be stronger.
Harder and harder.
So, but I think anyone's legend is a team that we are always humble and we are always willing to learn. So, even we win today's game, we have a lot of problems to tackle.
Yeah.
So, I hope that everyone will like our team and we will try our best.
Hell yeah. Okay, the chat's catching up. Everyone's saying W and hearts. Thank you so much, Tabe. Appreciate you. Enjoy your time with the team. And
I mean, I think it's awesome that we get interviews like this. I think in terms of like actual real kind of new information, there's not that much, but it's just still the same. Like they do loads of extra practice compared to we do. I don't know how they approach that practice. That'd be really interesting to find out. Like I say, from coaches who've coached in both, like they do say that some of the later scrims are more like just team fight practice kind of thing and just playing the game. And I think that's a fantastic idea and something that's worth exploring. I love how everyone has their own individual roles. And like I say, for me, if you could get to the point where with a team, the drafting coach can actually do the draft, whichever coach does the draft, then that's awesome. I think that's an absolutely amazing goal to have where like, okay, no one needs to worry about this other than the coach who's doing the draft. But quite difficult to get to. And also you have to have a very skillful coach at that. And so for me personally, like in the time frame that we have, but also just myself, it's not something I'm even really going to aim for. Mine was always going to be a lot more me just doing the framing and the players filling in the champions and stuff like that. But super interesting to hear. Yeah, and like I said, just really cool that we can have this kind of stuff. So that's my thoughts on the Tabe interview. That was the games as well. Tomorrow I'm going to do the games on the stream. It's going to be more like a watch party rather than what I was calling these ones in-depth review, but to be honest, it's a bit less fun. So what I'll do for tomorrow is I won't know the result and I'll look at the stream. I can't remember exactly when I thought I was going to do the schedule to the thing tomorrow because we have scrims tomorrow, but only in the evening. So I think it might be again in the afternoon or potentially late morning that I do the stream, but there'll be the VOD up. If you miss it, it'll be on YouTube. If you are around, I think probably I'll do it the same, like 11:30 for like an hour or so. And then I can have a decent break before we go into scrims in the evening. So that's it for me today. Thanks everyone for watching and I will see you guys